on the air or whatever. You're live.
Yeah, we're live. Welcome to my premiere live hangout.
First live stream here.
Yeah.
Let me put in my headphones real quick. All right, so talking about the Orlando thing.
Yeah, wow, I'm kind of blown away. Have you ever been to Orlando?
I have actually. I've been to Universal, and I didn't do Disney World when I was down there, but yeah, I did the Universal and the Islands of Adventure, all that good crap.
Yeah, that's why I was down there too. A lot of people have, if for no other reason than to just do the whole tourist thing. So it's a city that a lot of Americans have been to.
Yeah, it's weird too. Like I mean, I woke up, I heard the news, same as everybody else did. But bunch of gays shot up in a gay nightclub by some angry fucking Muslim, and and I shouldn't have been, but even I was just fucking surprised even by the sheer amount of like defending Muslims from all these fuckers, on I don't know. I mean, I've heard it said before that, Islam is like a symbol of infection and leftism is like AIDS. It's easy to fight off a simple infection unless you have AIDS.
Yeah. Well, how do you, my question is, like, now we've kind of absorbed this because it's happened. What do you think the fallout's going to be?
Well, I suspect, based on the fact that things have been shifting rightward and more and more people are getting sick of it, I suspect that you're going to see, this is just going to help the rightward shift. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Trump's poll numbers shoot up 5 points or something. Apologies, my dog making a bunch of noise in the background. But I already know what the left is going to be doing because they're already doing it, and they were doing it pretty fucking early in the morning even. And that's, this is why we need gun control.
Well, I heard it. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's
who's this little fruit that he's this gossip monger guy, and he's gayer than the day is long. But he was all this morning tweeting like fucking NRA, because you ain't got the balls to actually, say something to who's really doing it to you.
It's pretty bad. I don't know if it's true or not because I woke up to this hours and hours after it happened. But I heard that when the first report started coming in, the left was going around saying it was a Christian that targeted a gay club,
of course,
and shot it up.
I mean, I hadn't heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least.
And now they're jumping ship. Now, I was going to ask you a technical question. I'm going to put this in there, I'm going to put the post for this live stream inside Gates of Fire. And
make sure you use the make sure you use the YouTube link and not the actual Hangouts link.
I use the Hangouts link.
Yeah, don't do it. Use that.
Okay,
use the here. I'll shoot it to you on Skype real quick.
Okay.
Use this link. This is the link to the actual video. That would be the link to join the Hangout.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a big long rant on my channel earlier today, and I normally hate doing stuff other than my actual set, show that I do Saturday nights.
Right.
Because I don't know. The oddball videos don't get as much views, so I like to just stick it on the show that's working. But I just had to get it off my chest. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Because I'd been fighting with a bunch of these idiots on Twitter, and I don't know, my dumbass fault for thinking they could be reasoned with. But it's astounding. It's astounding to me,
Well, here's a question that I have is, and I know this is speculation. I don't know. You don't have a crystal ball any more than I or anyone else. But how long do you think they can keep up this cognitive dissonance where you're having two groups that are both on the left, the Muslims and the LGBTQ LMNOP group fighting each other before there's this like a real schism?
Well, I mean, The gays aren't that big of a percentage of the population. I know if you watch TV, you'd think they're fucking 40 or 50%, but they're something like 1 to 3% of the population.
Well, when
Muslims,
I was watching that television show Glee, and I didn't realize that 90% of all kids in high school were gay.
yeah, just gayer than cum on a mustache. But Muslims are considerably more than that, and sadly fucking growing. So our strictly numbers game, if you're Bolshevik, communist fucker politician, you're going to want to, side with the bigger population. But also, more than that, just the pathology of leftism, they're going to side with what's more fucking destructive at the end of the day. And yeah, sexual degeneracy can be very, very destructive. But motherfuckers blowing shit up is obviously a bit more so, isn't it? The left is just leftism isn't a philosophy anymore. It's a relentless march directly into Cthulhu's Maw. So they're going to go with whatever's moving them faster towards the abyss. It's just how they are.
So do you think like that whole LGBTQ community will just be like sheep led to the slaughter?
Absolutely. I think,
total silence of the lambs kind of thing.
Yeah. Now part of that's their damaged amygdalas themselves, but yeah, they'll be too busy fighting with Christians over the fact that Christians don't want to bake you your dildo cake for your wedding than, these Muslims who are going to slit your throat, set you on fire, cut your head off, blow your shit up. Like just on Twitter, I saw this guy, see Christians are just as bad because they found this video of this guy, I don't think he was affiliated with Westboro Baptist Church, but that type of Christian who's, outside the hospital holding up signs like, this is what you get, fags kind of thing. And it's like, well, even as a Christian, I think that's pretty fucking obnoxious. But that's all it is it's pretty fucking obnoxious. It isn't harming anybody. He's not the fucking reason they're in the hospital.
Yeah, it's not a 5.
It's just a fucking sign. Look away. Yeah, it's just fucking words.
But then again, in the age we live in of safe spaces and microaggressions, they're claiming that's PTSD.
It's unreal. I can't right now. Somebody just tweeting at me like, "No, Islam doesn't promote violence." So I just showed him a verse that shows that it does. Go kill the infidel. He's like, the Bible says things to unbelievers and has active like, yeah. Where is the kill the infidel verse in the Bible? It's not fucking there. And Christian, yeah, there's been Christians who have done shitty things in the name of Christ, but that's kind of the fucking exception. Yeah,
and there's another thing.
There's no moral equivalency here.
Yeah, people are not. You don't have Christians going around committing suicide bombs or going in there on these suicide missions and just indiscriminately, mowing down people who they don't know. And like, I believe that you might correct me on this, but I believe this is the largest spree killing ever, isn't it?
I've been hearing that. I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds like it. In America, at least.
I believe it's more people. I don't know how many people died in the European attacks, but this was just a single guy. And the interesting thing about him was he passed all the background checks. He had what they call a Class G firearms license in Florida, which means that he was allowed to carry his weapon in areas that a lot of other people who had concealed carry in Florida would not be allowed to, because it was part of his duties as a security officer.
Of course.
And he had been interviewed twice by the FBI on 2 separate occasions, and he had also been under both physical and electronic surveillance for a certain period of time. So I'm sure whoever the special agent in charge was is now signing his resignation.
You know, it's not fucking hard to deal with this shit either. It really isn't. Everyone wants to make it out like, oh, we have to have the Patriot Act and this big giant surveillance state and all this shit. It's pretty fucking obvious who's going to do this shit. And there's usually FBI agents fucking watching them. You know,
Yeah, but you got to remember, this guy was born in the United States.
oh, I know. But, you know, I mean, why can't we break up these fucking mosques with RICO laws? You know what I mean? You know, get the fuck in there when it's suspected or damn near demonstrably proven that they have terrorist ties, and fucking just start arresting some motherfuckers. I'm not even a fan of RICO laws, but they're on the books. Let's fucking use them for good for once, instead of chasing after fucking pot dealers and shit.
There's a legal reason that would actually trump that. No, no pun intended. Is the First Amendment would trump using the RICO statute for mosques.
I don't think so. I think, you know, if you're an organization, religious or otherwise, if we can prove that, you know, you were involved in criminal activity, it seems, I mean, look, frankly,
you could use it for criminal activity, but you wouldn't be able to use the Racketeering, Influence, Corruption Organization Act. But you'd be able to target the individuals, but the mosque as a whole.
Frankly, I think RICO in general is barely constitutional to begin with. So, I mean, what the fuck does a constitution matter these days? You know.
Well, I mean, as you know, George W. said, it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now it is, thanks to guys like George W., among others. But now it is. That's the sad reality. And I mean, I fucking love the Constitution. I'm a libertarian at heart, but, you know, I'm not the one that threw it out the window. But the fact of the matter is, it's long ago been thrown out the fucking window.
No, I agree. Hey, by the way, how do I turn on chat?
You're asking the wrong guy. I've never been able to do the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I know you think it's a demon spawn, right?
Yeah, it's a tool of the devil.
It's a tool. I just know that there might be people that want to. We only get
comment like on a regular video.
Okay. Let me see if I. Bear with me, guys. This is my first time doing a live stream. I've been in a few of them. I've just never. Oh, maybe it's in their control room. No.
Yeah, I have no idea how to do it. I've tried to do it numerous times.
Fair enough. Sorry, guys. You can just comment in there. If there's if there's anyone who wants to join, put a comment in there, and I'll tell you how you can join. You'll need a Google Plus account.
Okay. I've blocked so many motherfuckers on Twitter today, and I normally hate blocking. It's just I was in no mood today to hear you fucking defend people who want to slit your throat. These fucking idiot liberals, you know, they'll right to the end, they'll be saying like, oh, Islam is a religion of peace, right as the knife is coming up to their throat. It'll be their last words, like, not all Muslims, and the last bit of it will be, you know, gargled out through blood pouring into their throat.
Well, what do you think this is? I mean, I know.
I guess it's just, you know, as anonymous conservative points out, it's just the damaged amygdalas. It's just our types are fucking nuts. They have no concept of real versus fake danger. You know, these are types that think they are horribly again, the gays thinking they're horribly persecuted because you know, this Christian baker doesn't want to bake them a dildo cake. Meanwhile, there are sections of Detroit where, you know, you'll get your fucking ass beat for kissing another dude, and that shit is posted on fucking, you know, that shit is all over. It's posted on walls out there. Like, this is a Sharia zone. Or what the hell, Sharia? A fucking
Sharia.
Sharia, thank you. Sharia. That's fucking hot girl's real name. Shows how much of a nerd I am. But yeah, but we're not going to say anything about that because, you know, they're fucking archetypes. I mean, they're mentally ill.
Well, do you think this will shift the Overton window at all, or no?
Oh, I think it will. Yeah, this will shift it rightward. And it has. I mean, I'm sitting here frustrated at the fucking leftists and all, but you know, the vast majority of people are. That's just one more reason where it's like, what the fuck are we tolerating this shit for? I really, you know, it's Sunday the 12th of June right now as we record this, and I swear by the end of the week we're going to see Trump's poll numbers go up.
Oh, did you see his statement that he released?
I heard something, and then I heard all the fucking cucks from National Review were saying he just copied that off someone else's tweet or something. Like that fucking that's what you're upset about with 50 fucking dead. Like, but I haven't heard what the actual statement was.
It was well, he sent out a tweet, but then he also released it was like a page long letter on his Trump page on Facebook, and I'm not going to try to give a summation of it, but it's out there if you're on the Donald J. Trump Facebook page. And he lists everything. And it was, you know, I don't know if he wrote it or his people wrote it or whatever, but it was very good. Well, it'll be interesting to see how, you know, when the leftist media catches their breath tomorrow morning, how they're spinning this on MSNBC.
Well, I know how they're going to spin it as a gun control thing. They're going to try their damnedest to make this an issue about gun control. I mean, you already saw, I don't know who the fuck, and I'm sure, you know, they get messages from some leftist think tanks, and because none of them have the fucking brains to come up with this shit. Or maybe it's just maybe it is that weird thing like, you know, there's no fish in charge of the school of fish, but somehow they all swim in the same direction. I don't know how the retarded hive brain of the leftist works. But point is, right away this morning, they were all like, oh, fucking NRA. You know, somebody shoots you in the face, calls you a fag, and screams Allah Akbar, and this is the NRA's fault. It's unreal. I'm almost disappointed in myself that I got this upset about it. Like why am I even fucking surprised?
Well, to be honest, what got me, well, obviously I was upset, you know, that someone just, you know, some psychopath just went out and just mowed all these people down for no reason. That's just upsetting if you have any sense of humanity. But what's really upsetting to me is the reaction of the leftists. That's what's more upsetting than the actual act to me, is they're trying to find excuses to justify this bullshit, or not even justify, to deflect and obfuscate is probably the better word.
Yeah, all you fucking gays out there, you need to get it through your head. West will happily throw you under the bus for Ahmed. They won't think twice about it.
Is there any more news on the background of this guy? His name was Omar Mateen, I believe. Other than knowing he worked in security and he was born in the U.S., I don't know anything else about him.
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I'm hearing a few things on Twitter here and there, but I'm not gonna. I don't necessarily know what's rumor and what's not. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm mostly just been wading through all these motherfuckers. Like, not all Muslims. Say, shut up.
Yeah, there's one Muslim somewhere in New Jersey that doesn't believe in this, so that makes it okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe he should try and clean up his own. Because eventually outsiders are going to have to do it, and he's not going to be happy with it.
I wonder, I wonder what CARE's response is. You know, CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations.
I actually, you know, this is interesting. I actually saw them hold a press conference today. It was covered on Fox News. And, you know, what? If you pay attention to these things in the past, their initial response has been, yeah, this is bad, but what about all the Islamophobia that's going to happen as a result of this, right? That's always been their tone. This time was a little different. This time, it was very unequivocally denouncing it to an extent I've never heard them do. And I've paid attention to them for a while. And I think that's evidence right there that they know which way the wind is blowing. People are getting fucking sick of it.
But do you think that they had that tone because the attack was on gays as opposed to, like, do you remember the other attack was at San Bernardino where it was just a guy shooting at people at a work, like a work or Christmas party or something?
I don't know. See, I mean, on the surface, you would think that this would get the left to turn on Muslims. But again, that would be applying logic to the left, you know?
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing. You can't do that.
You know, there's no shortage of them just, I don't know. I'm damn near at a loss for words. It really, I shouldn't have been surprised by the left's reaction, but somehow I was still surprised at how fucking vile their reaction was. How fucking retarded and suicidal it was.
No, you're not talking about the leftist media. You're talking about just the leftist people, like the Tumblristas and the Twitter people.
Yeah,
and all
just
that.
people I'm encountering on Twitter and social media, and the leftist media, at least at the upper levels, they got to get their fucking story straight before they start really hardcore slinging the horse shit. They want to make sure they get their narrative solid. Then they're gonna, like I said, Monday morning it'll be all about gun control on those channels.
Oh yeah, you know that all of Hillary's staff is going to be putting the coffee on, staying up all night, figuring how they can possibly spin this now that they've officially lost the state of Florida.
Probably.
Well, how is Florida going to vote for Hillary after this?
I kind of thought Florida was going to be going to. I thought Trump's going to win Florida anyways, but
that's always been a battleground state historically. They call it a purple state. Yeah.
Yeah. And PA, where I'm at, is the same way, and I really think it's going Trump. I think a lot of states that were blue last time are going to go Trump, and I mean, I'm damn near seeing a Reagan versus Carter landslide in the works.
Oh, the second Carter, the second. Well, I'm thinking it's going to be more like who was the second guy? Well, I think Mondale versus Reagan.
Yeah, Mondale. Though that was the one, wasn't it? That was the absolute.
Yeah, that was where Mondale won 2 places. He won the District of Columbia, and he won his home state. I can't remember where it even was.
Yeah, I think. I think New York's in play for the first time in forever. I think I don't think Trump will take California, but I think the left is actually going to have to defend it a little bit for once. It's really
they'll be forced to spend money there.
Yeah, their biggest of home turf right there. They're going to have to, they're going to have to defend it.
I'm curious if states like not that we have a lot of delegates, but I'm curious, or not even delegates. What do you call people in the electoral college?
Electoral college votes. I don't know what exactly they call it.
Washington and Oregon. How, if at all, this affects them? Probably not. They'll probably stay with Hillary just because they're so paused. Because they're big cities, and that's a sad thing about like a state like Oregon. Where hey, John, did you just join us?
Yeah, would that be you, John, and Mr. Beckloff?
Oh, how's it going, John?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Are you on air or something? Or are you just having a chat?
Yeah, it's been on. We're live, buddy.
Oh, hello, internet.
You're on the interwebs too.
Yeah. Oh, it's not. It won't be for the first time.
You're on this new thing called the interwebs.
Yeah, well,
it's a system of tubes.
Jeez, I heard that today, that it's a system of tubes. I would never have known unless somebody told me. Thanks for that.
I think some congressman said that one time about it.
Yeah, I think it was Al Gore.
Yes, some 104-year-old congressman was talking about the internet one time. He was like, "It's a series of tubes."
Well, that's it. You get people over a certain age and they get on a computer and they seem to think the computer takes them for a drive as opposed to them being in charge of it. It's like my dad gets on a computer and it's like, oh, I ended up this place and ended up that place and ended up this place. You know, click, 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 click. Oh, free, click, free, click. Yeah, they're like magpies. So they're not actually in charge. So it's a mystery to them. And then 6 months after you've, installed an operating system, they'll give you a shout and say, there's something wrong with my computer and it's your fault because you were the last person to mess about with it. And you're like, all right. Yeah. Fucking old.
Never told you a story about my mother. She didn't use an ATM for the first time until 2001.
Well, they were reasonably new then. They weren't everywhere like they are now.
Yeah, but still, even back then, they were pretty ubiquitous. I mean, I remember.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. So, what have you been talking about, fellas?
We're talking about the Orlando, the shooting. That's the only reason I did this, really, because I'm kind of. I've actually been to that city.
Yes, it's a favourite holiday destination of my parents, Orlando. They like it.
Yeah, some gay nightclub last night. Some angry Muslim
called Pulse.
Yeah, some Muslim.
Pulse.
Yeah, some Muslim wandered in there and made sure nobody there had a pulse.
Yeah, well, it was I heard that and I'm like, the old saying, anyone with a pulse, LGBT. I'm like. I thought it was, in bad taste of a name of a nightclub, but I've been having some thought about it myself. This gay massacre. Do you want to hear what I'm thinking? Do you want to hear my theory?
Go for it, buddy.
Go on, I'll give you my theory. Right, the Muslim angle of it is going to be forgotten within a week, and it's going to be called a gun crime. So they're going to forget that the guy was a Muslim, and they're going to call him an American citizen, and they're going to push forward. They're going to go hell for leather. As soon as you say Islamic radical, it's going to be, shut up, you're racist. Yeah, and what they will stay with is the gay thing. Now, my favourite bit of rhetoric so far is now that on that night, there were more gays killed on that night than all the gays killed in World War II. How's that? More gays killed on that night than 9/11. More gays killed on that night than probably the Gulf War. So this is going to be the gay 9/11. And it's going to be pushed by that community because I'll tell you what, if you think feminists are entitled, hard done by, screaming and shouting for rights and protections, you ain't seen nothing yet. The LGBT community are the most entitled group of people you will ever find anywhere, and they'll run with this as far as they can run with it.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but there's two ways to look at that. Is that whole LGBTQ community, they might just start to get really scared now.
No, they'll use it to push on with what they wanted anyway. They can't compute this Islam thing. They're not interested in that. They're interested in what they want. So they'll use this to forward their own agendas. They won't immediately turn round as a community with the leaders coming to the forward saying down with Islam. No.
I don't think it that way, John. What I meant is what they'll probably do is they'll start to second guess things. They'll never come out and publicly endorse Trump or right wing ideology, but I don't think they're going to go out and start saying embrace Islam and all that stuff. I think a lot of them are going to, not the big talking heads and the leaders of these communities. I'm talking just about the rank and file. Those people are going to say, whoa, hold on a second. You had some Muslim that basically went in there. He called 911, as I understand, right before he did this, said he was doing it for ISIS, and he yelled Allah Akbar. Yeah. And I think that a lot of the rank and file, not the leaders, I agree with John, Brother John, 100% on that. Those people are, they're diehard, they're married to this leftist cause. Talking about the rank and file, they're going to say, whoa, hold on a second. This means that every time I go to a gay club, I got to worry about being mowed down by a goddamn machine gun?
Forget that. A lot of them don't go gay clubs. They're going to just use this. They'll collectivize. They're collectivists as much as any. So an attack on one is an attack on all. So even like gays who never leave the house will be feeling mortally wounded at this moment, i.e. you've killed some of my brethren. That's what they'll collectivize. You're making a rational distinction where the gay community isn't very good at making rational distinctions. They'll make an emotional distinction. They're not going to stand back and say, hey, what about me? They're going to be bleeding hearts. So expect weeks and weeks of LGBT bleeding hearts saying things have got to be done to protect us, our collective. I think it's going to reinforce the collective, and they're going to come out in sympathy. And all of the left, all of the people who are like well and truly on the side of gay rights, trans rights, they're all going to now be up in arms. And this event, when it's given a name, which will be the Orlando shootings, will be a stick that they will beat people with whenever they utter something that's a little bit homophobic. I think that's what you'll see. I think it's going to be the gay 9/11. I think it's going to be used as a weapon, because the sort of people in that community are just the sort of people who will collectivize and do something like that. They'll do it to push their own agendas forward. I mean, let's have it right. This has been building up for weeks. This guy has reacted. This guy's done the murders. He's part of the world too. He's dead now, but he was part of the world too. And the way the world's changed in the last few months and weeks and things like that, the media has spun it as if that LGBT people are actually better than normal people. They're more precious, their lives mean more, they are the most enlightened, the most sensitive, the most wonderful people in the world. They need to be protected.
Well, they call it victim status. They have what they call victim status. But go ahead.
Yeah, so you get it where he's probably been on the internet and he's been following the antics of Stephanie. Yeah, that 50-odd-year-old strange guy who wants to be a 6-year-old girl and stuff like that. He's looked at all the attention.
That was crazy.
Yeah, well, this is what the world is, isn't it? Where it's trans people in your face, and this guy's he's a Muslim. I mean, it's a funny thing. I think I have to go out here, and I think there is a healthy level of transphobia or homophobia. Because, I mean, I've known trans people, I've known a lot of gay people, and I don't feel so comfortable around them because, in essence, they've got no boundaries. The things that they talk about aren't worth knowing in a lot of cases, because they're always talking about, around here, gay people, they're always talking about cottaging. You know, cottaging, they meet up in toilets and just have sex with random men. And
what's this called? I never heard this word.
Cottaging. It's same as cruising.
Oh, I heard of cruising.
Right, cruising. That's really. I mean, the gay guys I know are in your face talking. Oh, last night I did, and you're like, I don't want to know about it. You're putting visions and ideas in my head. And it's disgusting to me. It just I don't want to hear about it. Don't be telling me about your gay adventures. I hate it. So, I mean, I'm a bit funny around trans people, certainly, because they're, in my experience, bullies. The biggest cry bullies in the world are the trans people that I've known. Gays, some are okay, some aren't. The ones who are camp and effeminate are attention-seeking whores who are murder to deal with. But the ones who are just quiet and reserved and do their own thing, and in essence are men. They're like men, if you like. You know, they're men who like men. I mean, they tend to be okay. They tend to have boundaries as to where they don't go mouthing off. But the camp, hello, them sort, who all of a sudden decide they've turned gay and start talking differently and give it all that. Yeah?
Yeah, well,
those
even straight people, it's inappropriate, like, for straight people to talk about their sexual adventures with people that they don't know or even only know very casually. You just don't do that. It's
about boundaries. It's about boundaries. It's about having a sense of decorum. It's about manners. I don't talk about my sex life openly to people because I don't think it's not the time. It's never the time or place to say, hey, last night. It's just in good company, you don't do that. You know, you don't put those visions in people's heads by talking about them. Well, say gay people I know, they can't shut up about, oh, I've been on dating sites and I've got this one and this one and this one lined up. And you're like, do you have to talk about this? Do you? And it's like, And then if you say that to them, they're like, oh, you're homophobic. You're like, oh, okay, right, okay. Because you can't stop running your mouth, I've got a problem. So I find myself in altercations with gays. And I used to work with it. I used to actually have to work with one, and I was sat right next to him, and all day it was a huge, big 6'5" man-mountain, fat ginger guy, who all he ever talked about was buns of steel, and people would be walking past, and he'd be like, he'd get it all the time, and I'm like, leave me alone with your gay talk. So I've got this ick that I can't. So let's say I'm homophobic. I'm homophobic because I get when these guys are around me and they start mouthing off with no boundaries. I don't like it. It makes me feel really uncomfortable.
Oh, I don't even like the word homophobic, because that implies a fear of homosexuals.
Yeah,
it just might be like, it's not I'm afraid of you because you're gay. It's like I just don't want to hear about it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to hear about, like, you know, the sex lives of really anybody. You know, I mean, the only person's sex life I'm interested in is my own. You know, I mean,
but it isn't gayness everywhere. I mean, last week in Game of Thrones this season.
Keep talking. I'll be right back. Keep going.
Yeah, but this season of Game of Thrones has been much better than last season of Game of Thrones. And then last week they decided to reveal to us that Theon Greyjoy's sister, who's called something, she's called Yara, but she's called Asha in the books. Turns out she's a lesbian. So, so you obligatory had to out a character. Oh, right, that's why she's so smart. That's why she's such a good leader. That's why she's so intelligent. That's why all these men follow her. It's because she's a lesbian. Oh, well, it makes perfect sense now. It's like, this what I'm getting at here, this where it's in the world and all around you. This is the world that guy has lived in, where he's gone out and killed 50 of them. So I mean, if he's I mean, obviously that guy he lost his, he got into psychosis and done something really heinous. I mean, he's a psychosis, so you can't really allow for that. You can't have any sympathy for him, really. But if you're psychotic and this is your big thing, the world is almost inviting psychotics to go out and take some sort of revenge or action against the gay community, just with what's being thrown down your throat every day by television, by the internet, by the news media. It's like every day gays are glorified. Marvel Comics characters, they want Captain America to be gay. That came out last week.
Hold on, stop on that point, because I want to hear Becklow's point about glorification. No, nothing wrong. Glorification of homosexuality in Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah, comics. It's all over the fucking place in comics. I mean, gays are like 3% of the population. They're in like fucking 30% of your damn comic books right now.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and they're demanding more. They're like, we're underrepresented. It's like, hang on a minute, you guys are the most overrepresented minority in all media.
But again, you'll notice there's one fucking group that's being violent about it, and that's the damn Muslims.
Yeah.
You know, Christians don't approve of homosexuality either, and, you know, you don't see them wandering into a gay club with a machine gun. It doesn't fucking happen.
They keep it quiet, don't they? I mean...
but even Christians, I mean, with the exception of, like, you know, some extremely radical groups, like, what's the name of that? Well, Westboro Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm.
With that possible sole exception, they're the only ones I can possibly think of. I mean, gays, by and large, are accepted by... Even the Catholic Church accepts you being a homosexual. They just consider that the act of homosexuality to be sinful.
And even the Westboro Baptist Church, what do? They hold up signs. You know, they're kind of mean to you. You know, that's a lot different than throwing you off a roof.
Yeah.
You know, I'd much rather somebody stand outside my yard with a sign, much as saying, you know, Beckloff is an asshole, much as I wouldn't approve of that, than him trying to come into my house with a gun.
Yeah. Well,
that's actually a powerful point. I don't know how much you realize how strong that a powerful point is. The Westboro Baptist Church got so much bad press, as if they were, you know, like as if the devil had come out of hell and, you know, parked right on Main Street. You know, they had to be stopped. They had to be stopped. And yet you'd have and they never, as far as I know, they've never even broken the law technically, right?
No, they have never laid hands on anyone.
Well, that's that's to do with being hypersensitive to criticism. Yeah, that's hypersensitivity to criticism.
Yeah, but only because where the criticism comes from. Because when the Muslims criticize them, they shut up. They don't say anything.
Because they're afraid.
No, it's not.
The Muslims are going to kick their ass if they say anything.
No, it's about your level of tolerance to your in-group being criticised. To someone who's gay, a bit of mouth from someone who's, oh yeah, that hurts them. It's as if they've been beaten up. It's as if they've been tortured. They don't know about, if you weren't there, you don't know about being murdered. You don't know about being wounded. You don't know about being battered. It's all the same to you. It's all triggering. It's all a shock. It's all trauma. And that's the thing. They can't make a distinction between guys calling names and holding sides and guys doing murder, because to them it's all triggering in their own subjective experience. So the easy targets for gays to go after is white Christians who are homophobic, like the Westboro Baptist Church, because nobody defends white Christians. It's open season. But you can't, you're going against your sort of social justice core if you go after Islam, because that makes you racist and it causes a malfunction. There's just to digress just a little. Somebody put up a video of a ultra leftist columnist in the Guardian on Sky News tonight called Owen Jones. I hate Owen Jones. He seems to think he speaks for the working class. He's a gay man who's all about multicultural, all about political correctness, and a self-avowed ultra-Marxist. And when he was asked, he was on a show tonight where they were talking about this, and they brought this story up, and he was sat next to a woman who was also giving commentary, and they asked her first about this story. And he says, oh, you're asking a woman's opinion, are you, when you've got a gay man here? And then he just says, right, okay, that's it now, I'm going home. Took his microphone off, stormed off the stage. Now, in his little brain...
Well, hold on a second now. What was the offense? What pissed him off? I'm confused now.
That he wasn't asked his opinion first.
So, in other words,
stormed off live television.
Him being gay trumped her...
Feminism card, yeah. She was a feminist, he was a gay, and they asked her first, obviously for her to set it up to move to him. And he folded his arms and put his face down. You see the camera, he goes, sulks, and then pulls off his microphone, throws it on the floor, and has a strop and walks out of the place. Because he felt he had the right to speak first because he's gay and it affects him directly. It was like, wow. It's like, you're a professional. You're someone who makes his living in the media.
Oh, so this was a journalist?
Yeah, Owen Jones he's like he's never off the BBC. He's the Guardian's man on LGBT issues. He thinks he speaks on behalf of all the working poor. He thinks he speaks on behalf of all the poor who are in welfare, and he just infantilizes people and makes them helpless. He's a despicable cunt.
But shouldn't he been like on the same side as the feminists? Because aren't they part of the same coalition?
No, they're not. When 50 gays have been murdered, it's all about him. He wanted to make it all about himself.
Will often snap at each other.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm gonna have to get going, guys. I gotta get ready for bed and then work and all. So I'm gonna hop out of this early. But thanks for having me on, John.
Hey, buddy, anytime. Take care. Have a good night.
Nice talking to you. Nice talking at you.
Yeah, nice talking to you, brother John.
I just came in and just unloaded.
No, you're fine. Davis is going to join us in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And we got 8 viewers, so we'll go for a little while, and we'll see what... I don't know how plugged into this, if Davis has been... I know this was Davis's church day, so I'd be curious if they talked about this at Mass at all.
I never said prayers for him, won't they?
Yeah, I wonder if they're... Well, doesn't Davis go to the... I think he goes to the Latin Mass.
I don't know. I don't know what Davis gets up to on church day, apart from it's a bit of a commute. So if he was round here, the nearest church to me is about a minute's walk away, and the next nearest church to me is about 10 minutes walk away, because there's churches everywhere. Although,
does anyone go to them?
no, not really, but they're still open. They still do services, but there'll be 6 or 7 people in a lot of them. But there's mosques everywhere that are all like, they've got no idea how to build a church, the mosque people. They build a brick building and stick like a big dome on the top of it. They got no idea, but the skyline's becoming dominated with mosques now.
Well, how far are you away? I mean, your churches are all Anglican, right? Do you have any Catholic churches nearby?
Yeah, there's 2 Catholic churches. One's about a mile up the road, and another one's a mile in the other direction. There's the one behind me is a Protestant church, and then there's another Protestant church within 10 minutes walk. So they're all beautiful 1870s, 1880s built, beautiful sacred geometry, wonderful churches around here, the Christian churches. And then you've got the Islamic ones. The Islamic ones look like they're kind of in the design scheme of the town, because they look like mills. They look like factories with dome roofs on top. But there's a thing in Rochdale actually where because churches are exempt from council tax, lots of the Muslim population have actually reclassified their own homes as mosques, so they don't have to pay council tax. Saves them about £1,000 a year.
Oh, so I should try that.
Yeah, so we've got nearly 300 mosques in Rochdale, because there's only actually probably about 30 mosques, but loads of people pretend their houses are mosques.
Well, you know a bit about Scientology, right?
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, there was a huge thing in the United States. You know, the tax system is we have exemptions for religions, right?
Yeah.
You're exempt from income tax, or however it's. But the Church of Scientology actually fought the IRS for 20 years to gain their tax exempt status, and they actually won. And one of the strategies that they used to fight the IRS was they used a Freedom of Information Act. I know you don't have an equivalent.
Yes, we do. We have a Freedom of Information Act as well.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
So what the Church of Scientology did was they actually used the Freedom of Information Act to request the names of all the agents that were assigned to their case.
Oh, yeah, that's the clever use of it. And then they lobbied them.
Yeah, well, it turns out then the IRS ran to Congress and had them pass a law exempting the IRS from FOIA information requests, and but anyway, they ended up winning in the end. But they used tactics like that. They were extremely mercenary and Machiavellian in their fight, and they did win it in the end.
Yeah. So Church of Scientology.
I'll say what you want about the Church of Scientology. They don't go around shooting people at gay clubs. So
no, they don't. And as well as that, the therapy style that L. Ron Hubbard sort of founded, that Dianetics, is miles more effective as a method of therapy than putting people on Prozac. So I have some respect for L. Ron Hubbard.
Well, the only respect I'd have for him in that sense was, he was against psychopharmacology, but other than that, it's pretty much useless.
They're vehemently against locking people up in lunatic asylums and drugging them. That's something that actually is a plus to Scientology. I think that a lot of the negative press that Scientology gets now, being left field, because it's not very fashionable to have some sympathy for Scientology. But I think a lot of the hatred against them is that they don't want that the pharmaceutical companies and the psychiatry business have got it in for them. Because L. Ron Hubbard was able to take broken, addicted people and, in essence, brainwash them into being a Scientologist. Now, you're a lot less harmful to yourself being a Scientologist than you are being a heroin addict. So that's in essence the same scam as all the churches have ever done. They've taken broken people, they've isolated within them the emptiness or need that leads to addiction. They've given it another name, associated with something different, and then been able to brainwash them Who knows if it works or not? But it's
Well,
healthy.
no, I think, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the long-term efficacy of it, but they do have a whole string of clinics. I think they call it Narcon or Narcanon, or I don't know the exact name of it.
Yeah.
But they did a very effective job of it as far as you know. I don't know what the long-term effects are. I don't know if these people stay clean or stay sober, whatever the word is. But
if they were part of the Church of Scientology, because they'd end up in a peer circle that reaffirmed their understanding. So it's a matter of negative peer. If you get yourself, if you're an alcoholic, the worst people to be around is drinkers. So if you take someone into Scientology, run them through a Dianetics course, recondition them into being a Scientologist, and then surround them with Scientologists, they'll stick with it. They won't fall off the wagon very often at all. But if you were to take someone off the drink and then surround him with drinkers, he's going to all the time be thinking, I'm missing out on something. So the peer pressure would put him back in a drink. So that's this Church of Scientology where they say things like, they isolated me from all my friends. Don't they? That's a common thing that people come out of Scientology will say. They made me get rid of all my friends. Well, your friends were all crack addicts and so were you. We took you out of one circle and we put you into our circle, and we're keeping you on the straight and narrow.
well, in the case of a crack addict, that could be a healthy thing, isolating them from crack addicts. But they also would isolate people from their parents and anyone who wasn't a Scientologist, and these people might not have had any sort of addiction or anything.
No,
like
but
that.
it's not about that. The only reason anyone goes looking for something like the Church of Scientology, or else even mainstream religion, is that they feel they're broken and they feel there's something missing. Now, that everyone's creator in that regard are the parents, so it's a good thing to get them away from the parents. They need to come away from the parents. I mean, that's the thing with I know many folks who've got narcissistic parents, and I'm part of that internet circle of people who understand emotional abuse. And the best thing that some people in the world can do is to disavow the parents. The parents are the people who are driving them crazy. The parents are the people who are trying to control their lives. The parents in a lot of cases are in competition with them and setting their own children up for to fail, and have done their entire lives. So you can get it where you take someone away from a pair of abusive parents, and all of a sudden they've got responsibility for themselves. They start to live their own life, as opposed to be an extension of somebody else's will. So
Hey, hold on a second, Brother John. Davis, how are you this evening?
Oh, sorry, I had to mute.
Are you back with us, buddy?
I are back.
yeah, we're just having a chat there about the actual positives of the Church of Scientology.
Well, it's okay for you guys. So I'd like to go back to the. If there's no objections, I'd like to go back and talk about the shooting that happened early this morning in Orlando.
Yeah, but debating about whether posting a short video about that, because everybody else seems to be, you know?
Well, if you have something to say about it, I encourage you to do so. I think that I think it's important. Isn't this the largest mass shooting we've had in the history of this country?
I don't think he has the high score, but it's definitely up there.
Well, before you say your piece, Davis, I came in and blasted my piece. And my piece is, this is the gay 9/11. And this is going to be seized upon by the LGBT collective. And they're going to completely ignore the Muslim angle of it. And they're going to, as a collective, all pour out, and they're going to demand, they're going to make it all about themselves individually and collectively. And they're going to run with it, get themselves a lot of attention, demand special rights and protections based on, basically, over the bodies of their brethren. They're going to try and milk it for as much advantage as they possibly can. That's my angle on it. But I am a raging homophobe.
No, you're not.
Well, I kind of am. I don't like gay people, generally. I've had too many bad experiences. Not sexual experience, usually work experience, and gay people in my social circles have been fucking nuisances. So maybe I'm biased. I've only met... Who's gay or like? No one. And I know 20, 25, 30 gays, and I don't like any of them. They're all horrible people, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
So
I'm
against them.
I can't agree with you on that one, Brother John. I have one friend of mine, local friend of mine, who's gay, and he's a stand-up guy. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm not trying to take away what.
I haven't been as lucky as you. Usually, people in workplace, I've ended up working around gays, lesbians, bisexual people, and they've been nightmares to work with. Well, you don't choose who you work with. They're not the people you choose to have around you. So I've been lumbered with working with a lot of gay people, and they've just, I can't, no. I don't want to be around and amongst them, and I understand something of their nature, because I don't believe it's genetic. You know,
Well,
there's this.
not. With identical twins, it's a lot lower than 50% that they're both gay.
Yeah. Yeah, it just does. It's about adverse experience that you've forgotten. It's about detachment, isn't it? It's about you've had your horizons broadened at a very young age, and you don't remember it fully, but you've got some kind of urge that's been put into you because you've been tampered with.
In fairness, guys, can I just say something about this? And we're not going to solve the nature versus nurture thing when it comes to homosexuality, but I believe there are genetic cofactors. And it also there is new research that's come out about how hormone levels during fetal gestation can affect the sexual orientation of the child as well. So I don't believe it's as black and white as saying, well, a kid got molested and then that made them gay. Don't get me wrong, I'm not black and white on the issue. I just don't believe it's that simple.
Right. Well, I have this thing about me where I humanize everything. So if anyone says to me genetic, I always think of that scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark when they've got the Ark and the government guy says, "Don't worry about it. We're sending we're leaving it in the hands of top men." And they just put it in a box and they put a date on the side of it, nail it up, and put it in a warehouse. To me, to blame anything that's actually a human social problem or a human issue, let's not call it a problem, that's a bit mean. If you blame it on genetics, you're in essence just kicking the can down the road thinking somebody else in the future might come along who can unlock this mystery, but until someone comes along, we're just going to leave it up in the air.
Well, I think what I think what Steele's getting at, though, is that this is a bit off topic. You know, like I will agree with you that I'm cautious around homosexuals. I'm not going to trust them as quickly as I trust somebody else, just because I have met many very bad examples. But I've also got, like, obviously, there's everybody's favorite homosexual, Jack Donovan, who's a specific exception.
I'm not familiar with Jack Donovan. He might be the exception to the rule. I don't get along with gay men generally, but I'm very much a man's man anyway. I'm very manly. So maybe I just see them as, I just sense a threat, or I sense that the lack of boundaries and the general sexualized conversation as to where they just, you've got problems, I'm open with my sexuality, as if I've got a problem because I don't talk about my sexual escapades, and they do, as if I've got a problem. And to me, that's, they lack manners, they lack boundaries, they lack manners, and that, well, fundamentally, there's quite a few gay people.
If I may try to surmise what Brother John is saying is, I don't think it's necessarily you have a problem with the fact that people have a different sexual orientation than yourself. It's more about how they conduct themselves in obeying the basic rules of general decorum. I think that's your main issue. That's my takeaway from what you're saying.
Yeah, that is my main issue. Well done, well summarized.
Yeah, see, and the thing about Jack Donovan is he doesn't fuck guys because he's a faggot. He fucks guys because he thinks fucking women is for faggots.
Yeah, well, that's there are some exceptions, aren't there? I mean, I quite like Milo in his work, but I probably couldn't stand him if I was in his company. It would be a matter of he seems to be someone who likes to shock people. Now, by all means, he can go and shock the feminists, but I don't want him shocking me.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I think Milo, a lot of that flamboyancy he has about his homosexuality, I believe a lot of that is per show. That's part of just his persona he puts on.
Yeah.
If you were to meet him, I'm quite certain in an office environment he would conduct himself with the utmost respect of everyone around him.
Not well. That's not how I understand it. There's a great way of getting attention. You know, people who seek attention. The best way of getting attention is to shock people. To actually shock and surprise people is a great way of getting attention. It's like, why do you think these women have got piercings and tattoos everywhere and blue hair and split tongues and piercings everywhere? They want you to look at them and go, huh, and then they can say to you, oh, have you got a problem?
Anyway, this is all rather off topic.
Yeah.
But it
let's try to
does relate to what I was, basically this is my analysis.
Hold on a second, I just want to make sure. Matt, can you hear us now? Matt, can you
Okay,
hear
now
us?
I can finally hear you.
All right, you had to reboot because Matt was messaging me on Skype.
I actually didn't have to reboot. I just the third time was the charm apparently.
Okay, this is my first live stream, but we're talking about what we were just
Good evening,
talking.
Matt. You're right,
Yeah, hey there, everyone. I'm
Yeah.
currently being besieged by the entire black race on Twitter, but
Don't worry about
At
it.
least it's not outside your apartment.
oh no,
give,
no.
give it time, man. Matt, did you get your firearms? Did you get your CCW yet? I'm worried about you.
I can neither confirm nor deny that live on air.
All right, fair
It
enough.
would be a bad idea to do that right now.
Okay. Well, after just reading some of the tweets that were directed at Matt, I don't know if Brother John's read them. I'm guessing Davis
Yeah.
probably has. I'm worried about you, brother, and I'm 2,000 miles away from you, so I'm too far away to help.
I'm 6,000 miles away, and I'm thinking, yeah, you probably have.
So,
Well,
Put it out there. You probably have.
I've got an escape plan, and I've got backup plans upon backup plans. I ain't worried.
he's got a tunnel underneath his apartment.
It's all right. Well, if you're really struggling, we can find some money, and we'll get Drew over to look after you. I'll get my Minister of Violence over to.
Yeah, I don't think Matt knows Drew, but Drew's
No.
a local guy that lives
Yeah.
in
You
Boston.
mentioned Drew before.
Yeah, he'll look after you, mate. You won't have to worry about those black guys if we get Drew over. Scare him to death.
Oh, trust me. Trust me, I got plenty of backup like right in this neighborhood. So
All right, good.
So we don't need the Minister of Violence. Good.
Well, no, actually, the reason I said this was, I mean, I know Matt's doing it. Well, Matt isn't doing it; he's just posting it. But you see the tweets that Matt has been getting, and in fairness, some of them are a little scary. I mean, some of these people want his head on a spit.
well, right now I'm compiling them all into a storify on death threats. Like
Well,
I'm not gonna wait until I get banned from Twitter this time.
Day in the life of Tommy Sotomayor. That's all it is. Day in the life of Tommy Sotomayor. He gets it every day. So you've crossed the online black community who appear to be, if you cross them, they're the biggest set of jackasses on the internet who are very, very brave from behind a keyboard. I wouldn't be worried so much.
Matt is getting attacked by not just the blacks, but also the Muslims.
Mm.
And actually, I'm more afraid of the Muslims for Matt's sake than
Matt,
the blacks.
ISIS finna be flying a plane into my apartment building.
Matt, we need to get you a Medal of Saint Benedict. Maybe strengthened by his presence in the hour of our death. I mean, go ahead and bring it on, you SOBs, but the Lord will be by my side, and I'm going to take out so many of you, and those are going to be the lucky ones, because these others will be lying there, bleeding, maimed for life.
Well, Davis, excuse my ignorance of patron saints, but Benedict is a patron saint of what?
Scholars, actually.
Oh, okay. All right, hey, Matt. Hey.
Yeah,
His medal has a rebuke of Satan on it, which is why I carry it.
about a cardboard cutout of Adolf Hitler.
Oh, stop.
Put it up.
Davis, did you go to Mass today?
Yes, yeah, just got back, actually.
Well, we were wondering if it was mentioned at Mass, the tragedy in Orlando.
My church doesn't give a F.
Well, you're a Catholic and you care about all souls, so.
Well, and yeah, here's the exorcism as well. Vade retro Satana, nunquam sueda mihi venel, sunt mala quae libas, ipse venena bibes. Begone, Satan, never tempt me with your vanities. What you offer me is evil. Drink the poison yourself. And that goes for all of you SOBs in the Black Lives Matter and the ISIS, and I know you guys are in bed together. Go celebrate your toxic religion by putting your gun in your mouth and pulling the trigger, you servants of Satan and servants of violence.
See, that's a Christian. That's an actual Christian. You know, that's what they're like. That's the Christian spirit that you know, used to don armor and wield two-handed greatswords and go on the rampage.
Just so you know, we actually were up to 20 viewers, which is a pretty big deal considering this is my first live stream.
And I gotta say, like, coming from that, like, my church didn't mention it because it's too topical, and I'm quite proud of my church for not bringing up the latest stupid thing in the news. Like, I wasn't even going to talk about it myself, but I guess everyone's talking about it.
No, it's everywhere. I don't know how you can avoid not talking about it. And not just because it's, not just a Muslim thing, not just gay victims, but just the larger political ramifications it's going to have. This is gonna ripple out and affect us.
Well, here's what I want to talk about with that. I mean, I'm sure there was a few good kids in that club, a few kids that were on the wrong path or what have you, but that they weren't bad kids, and I really hope they're all right. But what is the reaction to this going to be? The reaction is not going to be, oh, wait, maybe Trump was right. Maybe we don't want Muslims because we're homosexuals, and oh yeah, don't they throw them off buildings? That is not going to be the reaction. The reaction is going to be doubling down. These rabbits are going to say that the reason that this guy did this is because we're not allowing enough Muslims in. He was radicalized by Donald Trump. We need to celebrate Islam more. The GLBT is going to come down hard pro-Islam because of this, because they're rabbits and they're cowards, and they think sucking up to the enemy will let them survive the war that's being waged.
Before I address that, there's something that I wanted to mention when I was on. Matt had me on his podcast, and I forgot to mention this. One of the things that this guy did, he had a background in security. He was actually trained as an armed security officer. One of the things that he did was he waited till approximately 2:05 a.m. when everybody was coming out of the club before he went in and started shooting, and then he took people hostage and then started shooting some more. This club, as do most of these large clubs, they have bouncers there, lots of them actually. And an interesting aside, I know bouncers from my gym. There's more likely to be more bouncers at a gay bar than there are at a straight bar. I'm not making that up. Talk to guys that work as bouncers; they'll tell you that. But what they do is they pat everybody down coming into the club. When you come in, everybody gets a pat down.
And if you're somebody other than me, they're probably going to find the weapon.
Okay. But hold on a second. So, but at the end of the night, when there's more people leaving the club than entering it, they don't do the pat down. He knew that. So in other words, this guy did his due diligence, so to speak.
Didn't he take a hostage and then?
Well, he took a group of hostages before he, I'm not sure exactly. It hasn't been released yet as to, at least not officially, about did he kill all the people at once. I know there was some sort of brief standoff for a while. But he didn't enter the club, best of my understanding, until 2 a.m. when they stopped doing the pat-downs, because it's just not economical for ingress and egress. So in the beginning of the night, when everybody's entering the club, they pat everybody down.
Mm.
And they do that at straight clubs here. Any large city in Seattle, they do that at straight clubs. They pat you down, even if it's a once-over. But they do that. But this guy knew enough to go there at this hour when that would not be an issue.
And then he called the cops on himself.
Yes. He called the cops just to announce that he was doing it in the name of ISIS.
Hmm.
And I forget what his exact message was. I think
Allah Akbar.
No, he said the Allah Akbar when he was shooting, but I think on the 911 call he just claimed allegiance to ISIS or some I don't know what it was. They didn't release the tape yet.
Actually, Mike Cernovich is alleging now that there may have been multiple shooters, just on the basis of the fact that even with an AR-15, one person can't gun down that many people in a panic situation that quickly.
There's been rumors around YouTube that there was a second person holding the door. Someone actually aided the guy, whether it be someone who just decided to join in, or whether he had someone who was actively with him on the job. But the word come round. I was just listening to Tommy Sotomayor's take on it. I was gonna jump in his hangout at 3:30. It's now 3:13.
I could see 50. You know, that, like, it's a crowded nightclub. Everybody's running in a panic, trampling people. Bouncers can't reach him. And what was he? What weapons was he carrying?
AR-15.
Pistols?
He had an AR-15 and a pistol.
Oh,
He
AR-15. Well, that's a 30-round magazine.
He scored
You put me in a
100
crowded
hits.
nightclub, a 30-round magazine. I'm going to have 34 kills.
Well, he scored 100 hits. He wounded as many as he killed.
Yeah, there's 50 confirmed kills and 50 confirmed admissions to the hospital.
So of that, I mean, you might be looking at another 10 die. I mean, gunshot wounds.
Yeah, they said that the majority of the wounds were to limbs and lower abdomen. So, and also this guy had training, like I had mentioned before. He had the Class G license in Florida, so he had experience using these weapons.
Yeah, he worked for a security company for 5 years. He'd been investigated by the FBI twice. Was accused of by his ex-wife of beating her. And he was on a watch list, but his employer didn't know that, and he got dropping the ball again. You know, this huge NSA surveillance state. Thank God there's a watch list that, you know, half of us are probably on. Inconveniences our lives. Didn't do anything about this joker though.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got some woman from the Obama administration saying that the problem with the CIA and NSA, one of the problem is it's too white.
It's too what?
It's
Too white.
White.
Too white, yeah, that came out last week.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, ridiculous.
That I didn't hear, but that doesn't surprise me, unfortunately.
You know what the solution is for this terror problem that they've got in the States? You should just take a leaf out of the British Empire's book, what we did with the Boer War. You should let it be known that if you're a terrorist, if you do something like this, we're going to lock up your entire family and interrogate them for a very long period of time. You know, like people who think about killing themselves generally come back from the brink by thinking about the impact it'll have on their family for them to go ahead and do something like that. If they put it in places to say, you know, if you're a terrorist and you do this, we're gonna pull in your mother, your father, your grandparents, your cousins, your wife, your friends. All of them are going to be pulled in, and they're all going to be interrogated. They're all going to be held as terrorists.
No, I'm not saying that wouldn't work, John, but do you realize how many people that would be?
No, I mean, after the event, it would be a deterrent, wouldn't it? After the fact. I mean, today you've got it where the kid's dad. Now, the guy's dad is cracking on like it's some kind of mystery, as if he doesn't know his own son. That's like, oh, really? His ex-wife has been who he was supposedly beaten, saying, come out today, oh, well, he wasn't very religious. You know, so the family are idiots. They've made a mystery of it. They're in essence doing I didn't do nothing, I didn't know anything, to
Matt,
distance themselves.
You know what? I will be willing to put money that Barack Obama invites his family to the White House.
Oh, just chill for a second. Matt, you had some background on this guy's parents, that he was running for office in Afghanistan.
His father is running for president of Afghanistan.
Thank God we brought them democracy. That was worth how many American, Canadian, British, Australian, etc. lives?
Yeah.
Well, let that sink in for a second. This guy's father is running for president of Afghanistan.
Because of us.
Just give that, 30 seconds to sink in.
Well, the thing is that Afghanistan isn't the place it was in 1975, is it? I mean, once upon a time, Kabul was a reasonably built-up place. When they've had, years of that Taliban rule, anyone who wasn't on side with the collective madness of Islam will have been just got rid of. So anyone who's had any sense in Afghanistan has long since left the place. So it's like this guy running to be president of Afghanistan, his competition won't be so smart, because anyone who's had half a brain's been killed by the Taliban or run out of the country years ago. I mean, that is one fucked up place, Afghanistan.
No, it's always been a failed state to some degree.
Not always. Not always. It's become the shithole it is in the last 30 years. Once upon a time, it was progressive. It had,
well, you had like a city like Kabul, which was, but that city was pretty much autonomous. If you left that city, pretty much you just had a bunch of goat herders.
Yeah, but that when you talk, that's the thing. You talk about Afghanistan. You talk about the Afghan government. Really, all you're talking about is the guy who controls the police and the military.
Military.
You won't be getting anything like public services from your government of Afghanistan. This is the thing that leftists don't seem to understand about places like Afghanistan, is that you're not getting your rubbish. You're not getting, you're not getting your refuse collected. You're not getting street lighting. You're not getting education. You're not getting any of these government services. The guy who's a president is, in essence, the guy who's in control of the biggest gang, which would be the police and the military. That's all it is. That's all the government is. The rate of income tax in a place like that would be zero, because they've got no infrastructure to collect money. It'd be a matter of them going out collecting taxes with force of arms, going knocking on doors saying, right, we're the military, we're the police, hand over the money. That's a government. That's a government of a place like Afghanistan. What have the Americans done to aid that government? They've just armed them, trained them. So it's like, whoa, the Wild West. Sorry, I was off on one talking about.
No, it's okay. My interest in starting this hangout was, what are the ripple effects for the next 2 weeks? Let's just keep it short. Let's not try to war game it out for a year from now. Not even to the election. I just want to know, what do you think 2 weeks from now? You think this will just blow over like nothing, or do you think, how do you think? What do you think Hillary's going to be tweeting tomorrow morning?
All about gay rights and guns.
She's going to be blaming it on guns and saying that all religions have terrorists.
Yeah. Now,
even though that's complete nonsense.
The stories that were going around the UK media this morning when I got up, when it first broke, was American citizen, they called the guy. American citizen. And then they made it about guns immediately. The media, it's as if they were ready for it. They'd already got the rhetoric lined up. It was they called the guy not Islamic fundamentalist, crazy terrorist, American citizen. That worried me immediately. I'm like, whoa.
Not sleeper agent.
Not someone who would call 911 and said that he was doing this because he had an allegiance to ISIS. Not the fact that he had yelled Allah Akbar. All that was left out. They just said American citizen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. When the story broke, it was American citizen. And then his name came out, Omar. And then I posted something on Facebook, and one of my mates came back, oh, well, it'd be a southerner, won't it, with a redneck name like Omar. For a laugh,
Matt, what are your thoughts?
Huh?
What are your thoughts about how this will play out just in the short term, like over the next week or two? In other words, what will Hillary's damage control team be tweeting over the next few days?
She's going to go hard on gun control. She already has. She's the first national Democratic politician in years to actually take that on as an issue, probably because she senses subconsciously that the demographics have gotten to the point where, even with the opposition to gun control that the NRA has marshaled over the past 20 years, there are not enough blacks, Hispanics, and non-whites in the Democratic coalition, she calculates, to get those laws passed.
Here's an interesting question. Bernie Sanders is actually a supporter of the Second Amendment.
That's mainly because, well, Vermont. He's from Vermont. And Vermont has a very weird culture. Vermont's a very left-wing state, but they also love their guns. In fact, Vermont has no gun restriction. Vermont is one of 2 states where you don't need a concealed carry permit or any kind of permit to carry your gun. The other state that doesn't have that restriction is Alaska. In theory, you can get an AR-15 and walk down the streets of Burlington, and the police can't do anything about it unless you actually open fire on someone. Now, businesses can ban people from bringing guns onto their premises. But the thing is, legally, if you don't, in Vermont, if you ban guns from your premises, you have to assume the responsibility of protecting your customers. So a lot of people will allow guns because they don't want to pay the extra money for a bouncer or whatever.
Sorry.
The GLBT
I didn't interrupt.
is going to.
Go on, David. Sorry, mate.
Okay. I was saying the GLBT is going to break down into hysterics. They're going to be screaming, "Leave Britney alone! Leave Muslims alone!" This is going to further divide the country. I think it's unlike San Bernardino, where at first, they were covering it up for long enough because there wasn't explicit acknowledgement of what the motives were, whether it was an office shooting, whether it was whatever, and the liberals were having a blast.
But you remember how long they tried to push that office narrative, like it was a disagreement? They tried to push that, but it didn't have any traction. People said, no.
The difference being that we didn't know what was going on for quite some time. Whereas so they had egg on their face, But with this time around, it's going to further divide the country. The liberals are going to say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's guns. It's guns. It's white males. It's white males and patriarchy, and all religions are terrorists. That's going to be what the liberals scream. And the people on the Trump side are going to be saying that yeah, we need to build a wall. We need to deport the Muslims, and we need to make America great again. And so it's going to further make this divide more explicit. And ultimately, I think that's going to be really good for the good guys, because there's a lot of union members that support the Democrat, blue collar types, that are going to look at this insanity and say, no, this is just absolute. I have to vote Trump.
Yeah.
So in overall, you're saying it's a net positive, Matt? Net positive or net negative?
It's a net positive.
Okay, Brother John. Net positive or net negative?
Net positive if you want to get Donald Trump elected, because now it's like the situation that Hillary finds herself in, trying to run her mouth about this, is going to be just absurdity.
I think the liberals will buy it, though.
Well, she's in a PC minefield in the same way as, like I mentioned before you two guys came on, Owen Jones of the British press, who's a Marxist, gay guy, LGBT, Labour Party sort of insider. When he was interviewed earlier on, he got up on a live television broadcast on Sky News, threw down his microphone and stormed out.
That's the one that's what he posted. Yeah, this guy rage quit. Go to you guys are both members of the Gates of Fire closed Facebook group. This guy rage quit.
Rage quit because it's like the political correctness construct. Islamic perp, gay victims, they're stuck between two places where they have to defend. They could be seen as being racist for decrying the Asian or we call them Asians, don't we? The Afghan Muslim. They can't come out against them to be seen as being racist, but at the same time, they're trying to defend their in-group. So it's like a malfunction. They don't know what to do. So anything that they say who are trapped in political correctness is going to be absurd, because they can't do anything but look at it through leftist rose-tinted glasses, and it just doesn't compute. So anything that comes out of the mouth of the leftist over this issue is going to be absurd. So it's going to send people rushing to Trump.
Well, this was Matt's thesis about the left eating their own.
Yeah.
Remember you alluding to that, Matt?
Yeah.
That's because they reject the flesh of Christ.
So it's like we're going to see who ranks higher on the victimhood hierarchy. Is it Muslims or is it gays?
And they don't know, do they? So it's like malfunction, and they can't process this.
Yeah, their heads start exploding like the guy in the scanners.
Well, it's like the common, as far as I'm concerned, is that the common leftist error is the victim mentality that they share with other groups in the Hydra. So it's like they see everyone as being a victim, and victims are all fundamentally good people. And once this illusion of what the world is, oh, everyone's all the same, man, once this illusion gets shattered, it has the effect on them of it's like the end of the world, almost. So this may have made certain people who were intelligent but, in essence, lefty brainwashed, almost have a nervous breakdown, because it shattered the simplified worldview. Now, that could be, if that has an effect, that could well be the ISIS have destroyed this utopian fantasy that they've got. They may have this guy, in killing a load of gays, may have scored the ultimate own goal, because he's fractured the leftist movement, who are, whether they mean it or not, totally enabling a group like ISIS.
You're giving them too much credit for reasonable thinking.
No, I'm not.
No, bear with me. What they're going to do is, because this is proven that ISIS is more dangerous, okay? ISIS is scary, so they are going to say that ISIS was in the right, all right? But it wasn't the homosexuals' fault. It's Donald Trump that's radicalizing ISIS, and ISIS is naturally peaceful, and so it's Donald Trump and racist whites in the South who are responsible for these gays getting murdered. But because they love the gays because the gays are perverse and frequently molest children. So that's why Democrats love gays. But they love the Muslims even more because they're afraid of them. You know, with Democrats, they are at your throat or at your feet. Yeah. Okay, there is no in between. So because they're scared of ISIS, they're going to put ISIS above the gays. And also, I think, just for the sake that none of us here sound like some sort of goofy-looking chemist that thinks that the Holocaust was ultimately a good thing, this was not a good thing. No. Good will come out of this, as it always does, but that does not make this a good thing. Whoever was getting shot.
It's whoever seizes the narrative, and it's going to be. There's going to be a competition for who gets to run with this ball.
And no. There's going to be complete agreement. The GLBT will support the Muslims because they're afraid.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about rabbits do. I got to say, you might be right. I don't have any crystal ball, nor does anyone else.
Right, here we go. Let me I'll make a point. Right, there's a story that just popped up straight away. I knew this story was coming because there's been, how many of these attacks have we had in this last year? There's been the San Bernardino, there's been the Paris, there's been one in Brussels, there's been a few, hasn't there? Let's say right. We're at number 5 or 6 of the year of these major attacks. Yeah, and every time it happens, there's always an article that hits every newspaper that says this: let's not give in to fear and hatred. And this be the narrative. It's burying your head in the sand as to say, in essence, let's show them love and they'll stop killing us. It's total like ostrich thinking. It's burying your head in the sand. It's avoiding this problem until it goes away. And if you don't, you're a bigot. So as soon as this story came about earlier today, I'm looking for these stories of these guys on the left coming out saying, "Don't give in to fear, don't give in to hate." Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all the left have done about any of these terror attacks in the last year, is to say, "Oh, ignore it and it'll go away." Don't give them power. You're allowing ISIS to recruit by building up their reputation. Ignore them. Ignore them and they'll go away has been their general mindset right through all these attacks.
But that works a lot better in Europe than it does in the U.S. In the U.S., we're not so quick to buy into that.
It's a media thing. It's the media narrative. It doesn't matter what people think. They don't care about that. That's not important.
It's a rabbit thing. All the rabbits, when they see a dangerous enemy, they try and suck up to him. You know, the Nazis invade France. All the rabbits in France suck up to the Nazis. The Islamicists are attacking North America. All of the rabbits suck up to the Islamicists.
Mm. But there's another thing, a point I like to make these days, and I hope not to bore you with it, but do you guys get on your television, or you've seen on your television where there'll be a nostalgia TV show that's like, remember 1995, and it'll be the big movies of the year, what was in the news in that year, what was the big songs of the year, what were the big scandals of the year, and it'll portray this media vision of what 1995 was as if that's what really happened in the world, when in essence it's just the media narrative. Yeah, you know, these nostalgia TV shows.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't know about nostalgia TV shows, but one of the news programs we have every morning is they'll say, like, 10 years ago the number one song was X and the number one television show was X, and that's about it. But they don't necessarily get into the minutia of it.
Well, this is, yeah, right. Well, you understand the point I'm making. Now, there's this whole thing that Hitler said. He said, if you're going to tell a lie, make it big and keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it.
Just to correct you, he was talking about the Jews when he said that. He says that's what they do, and they still control the media, incidentally.
Yeah. Well,
according to Joe Biden, anyway.
Well, that counts for just the way that human beings, if you repeat the same story over and over again, it eventually does become the truth. It eventually does become what the narrative is, what the story was of that. So it's like, as long as whatever the media runs with eventually becomes the way it's remembered, because they repeat it so many times. Now, because we've got the internet these days, it doesn't work so well, because you can go back and go and find the sources of the time. But before that was the thing, whoever controlled the narrative controlled history. So we've got to you look at it like that, as to say the media version of this in years to come will be what is remembered as being what this was about. It'll all be forgotten. Just the nature of human beings, that this will all be forgotten. My thought is that the Islamic angle of it will become a taboo to talk about within a fortnight. And the LGBT rights hammer, it's going to be the gay 9/11. They're going to call it the Orlando shootings. And every time something bad happens to someone who's gay, they're going to hit you with the Orlando shootings hammer. That's the way I see it going. I don't know if I've just lost you, but
well, no, I'm not that you lost me. I just don't see it playing out that way in the U.S. And it might be just because you live in Britain, that you're so censored over there, that if the same thing were to happen in, let's say, London, that's how it would play out. I just don't see it playing out that way in the U.S., especially not with the rise of Trump. I really don't. I mean, I could be wrong.
The thing is, these days, it really, we're in the West. We're in the West, so I look at the West as being one nation. As long as we've got a common language, the US is the UK, because our access to media is the same.
No, but trust me, what I've seen of your media, there's no way in hell the US is as paused as Great Britain. Not you personally, Brother John. I'm just talking about.
Well, television's died in this country now. The broadcast media is dead. The only thing that really, as far as I'm concerned, and many of my generation, the internet is the media. So we've got the same, because we've got the same lingua franca. We're one with Canada, we're one with the US, we're one with Australia, because we've got the same language. So we're the same nation. So when you say that your view may be a bit different because you're from across the pond, no, mine's based on my window at the world, which is the internet of the English-speaking world. So I'd say that our culture is, because of the internet, is now the same culture.
Well, let me give you a real-life example. I did. It'll never air for a variety of reasons, but I did a interview with Millennial Woes, and he contacted me after the interview was over, and he asked to remove something that would have been innocuous in an American discourse, but he said, well, if you post it as it was recorded, he goes, I'll go to jail. Don't remove that part. And it wasn't anything really. It wasn't anything I would have even thought about. I mean, I've completely deleted it. It's never gonna. No one's ever gonna see it or hear it. But that's the difference between the U.S. and Britain, where you actually literally have to worry about going to jail for saying something that in the United States we can say, "Go fuck yourself." We got the First Amendment. You don't like it? The absolute worst thing you could possibly do is fire me, and even then I'll have a chance for a lawsuit.
Mm. Well, I'd say I don't care. Where Millennial Woes cares, I simply do not care. They can come and... I'd love it, actually, if I was to get banged up for hate speech, because I'm generally amiable. So it'd be a matter of if the world was to bring attention to me and say, this guy's racist, this guy said some terrible things, all it'd do is just bring me attention to some of the other things I've said. So I don't worry about that at all. That's Millennial Woes being soft.
Well, I'm not judging the guy. I think from what I understand of your laws in your country, he had a legitimate concern. I'm not going to disrespect the guy. I mean, he wasn't being a punk about it. He was just saying that, could you just cut this part out? He wasn't like, he just said that what he happened to say in his country is illegal. So,
well, shit, I say illegal things all the time. That's a matter of, come after me if you want to come after me. Somebody has to make a complaint for you to go down. I don't know if Millennial Woes has got people on his case, but saying that amongst his audience, Millennial Woes has brought with him some extreme right-wing elements that I've managed to get rid of, but he hasn't. So he's got the local answer to the Stormfronters crowded around his channel. He's got some dangerous right-wing voices in amongst his audience. So, if you find yourself on the wrong side of those people, they're just as vindictive as the leftists. So I understand where he's coming from, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, his all the inner workings or anything, but I was just giving that as an example where he had a concern that an American wouldn't have.
Yeah. Which is a strange thing again, because my channel is a lot of it's about narcissism. It's about deprogramming emotional barriers that people have got. And now you can't deprogram emotional barriers people have got unless you tackle political correctness. Why are you offended? If you can't engage in talking about religion, race, and politics, and all these phobias as labels as we get thrown at us, you're never gonna be able to eliminate these triggers, as they say. So it's a trap. So if you want to help people better understand themselves and better understand the world, you have to tackle political correctness, because it's a matter of someone can say a word to you and ruin your day. Isn't that magic? So from my point of view, I've got free speech. Take it away from me by force if you're going to take it.
Well, they very well might, but I think your point is that in doing the kind of work that you do, you cannot have taboo topics. Everything has to be on the table. You can't say, we can't. You can never say we can't talk about this, because you can't have that. I mean, everything has to be on the table and open for debate, open for what's the word? Empirical dissection. Everything has to be, on there.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be effective at all at helping people get out of bad situations where they've got strong emotional reactions to certain keywords. If I wasn't able to dissect that, I would never be able to help people break this political correctness conditioning. Which is why you guys in the States with your freedom of speech are absolutely crucial to everything and everyone who's in the UK, and also amongst your own people. You need to be able to break down these triggers, break down these absurd rules that are being enforced on people. You can break through that, and then all of a sudden, that political correctness control mechanism, which is what it is, it's fucking mind control, will just fall to pieces. Would fall to pieces literally in days, weeks.
Well, Davis, can I ask you a question regarding free speech in the Catholic Church?
Mm-hmm.
How do you see that manifesting? Like, For example, you are a member of a Catholic congregation that is, let's say, conservative. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're not in heresy, so we're conservative.
I mean,
You're right.
you're speaking to laymen here, so you know.
Liberal Catholics are in heresy, and they often attack very good priests. So, I mean, there's a huge fight going on in the church to try and save her. All right, like
Okay,
we're in very dark times right now.
So this is my question. So, what kind of rationalizations are created within the priest class to reconcile the current pope with conservative Catholic beliefs?
Oh, good Lord, I have no idea. I think.
Well, you once told me that your priest is a personal friend of yours, so that's why I'm asking.
Oh, I didn't say he was a close personal friend.
No, I'm not saying you go out and you hang out and go to strip clubs. I just mean you talk to him. Yeah.
What I gather is that because he is the current pope is quite wily, he's either remarkably foolish or very wily, depending on what he is on the inside. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's an absolute fool. The things he says aren't technically incorrect. Technically. But then, Laetitia Amoris can easily be translated as the joy of sodomy. And you can debate the implications, and I speak enough Latin to, joy of sodomy is maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, but not that much. He used the wrong word. It should have been caritas. All right, he was very close from
Davis, you got to understand that everybody listening is a Latinist. So
okay. So get to the freaking point, Irene. Point is, he doesn't actually say anything that you can specifically call him on. Okay, the errors are partly deep within the text, are passages that are very disturbing to some traditional Catholics, and then there's the public statement, which are just perfectly designed to be taken out of context. They asked him what he thinks about Trump, and he talks about a homily about how you shouldn't build walls in your heart. Okay, that doesn't answer the question, and it sounds like you're anti-Trump, even though you didn't actually say that, you dork. The church is really trying to focus on charity right now, to saving souls, to being a field hospital, rather than concerning themselves with the details of theology, which, good sides and bad sides to that. And ultimately, I think it's up to the laymen in the church to get the church back on track. Okay, the priests are busy. All right, the priests are running around, blessing houses, performing mass, going to confession. They're busy fellows. Okay, so if we want a better church, it's up to the righteous men and women within the church. Specifically, the righteous men.
Yeah, you need to develop your own priest class, don't you? You need to become.
Not to replace the priest, but
no, not to replace. You need to be at the level. You have to be at their level or even higher. You've got to develop yourself, haven't you?
We need to take.
They're not going to do it for you. Yeah,
we're part of it.
There's just to make a point. I'm actually going to do a plug here. I've got my hangout tomorrow night, and I'm hunting high and low for my Toronto-based former radical Muslim, Abdi, who is I've been actually trying to hunt him down to try and drag him into this hangout, but I'll see if I can get Abdi tomorrow night into my hangout, and he's someone who's now an atheist who's left Islam through the front door, and he is brilliant. He knows everything there is to know about Islam, and it'd be a matter of let's see what he has to say about this, because his opinion on it will be extremely enlightening, I dare say. So I'm going to try and drag him into my hangout tomorrow night, if I can get hold of him. But say, my guy, Abdi, is of the opinion that if there wasn't luxuries or a social safety net in the West, all good Muslims would be killing homosexuals every day, because that's really what they're about anyway. This is that might say if I can get hold of him tomorrow, I'll get him in my hangout and we'll get his take on it. He might get him killed as an apostate, but he's in Toronto, so I think he's a bit safer. He's from Somalia. He's no longer in Mogadishu, so I think he'll be all right.
Well, I don't know about Toronto's pretty paused, but well, I mean,
Toronto, more like Pawsville, am I right?
Yeah. Well, didn't Roosh have a lot to say about Toronto?
Oh, it was a terrible city 10 years ago. Now imagine a city full of complete assholes, and now they're feminist as well. That's
well, Toronto has a massive inferiority complex vis-a-vis New York City. Because here's Davis can correct me on some of the finer points of history, but up until fairly recently, Toronto was not the largest city in Canada. Montreal was. Montreal was the headquarters of the Canadian the finance industry. Toronto only outpaced Montreal in terms of population when the Quebecois nationalists came to power and started encouraging anyone who spoke English as a first language to get the hell out. So it's a city with a massive identity crisis and inferiority complex. I mean, they tore up one of their historic districts just so they could build this really awful-looking replica of Times Square.
Oh God, they did.
Yeah, it's called Young Dundas Square. It's really ugly.
Yeah,
Most things in Toronto are ugly.
It's got to be safer than Mogadishu. That's
not saying a lot.
Yeah.
It's safer than Mogadishu, but then again, it technically is Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a very good point, sir.
Well, I think when are they? I believe they're going to be officially changing the name from Chicago to Chirac. Isn't it on the ballot in November?
They're actually changing it to Chicago.
Oh, Shigadishu. It's got a ring to it.
I'm just worried that I watched last night. I actually ordered that movie on demand, 13 Hours. Have you seen that? It's about the Benghazi debacle.
Oh, is it any good?
Yeah, it's good because the choreography and the fighting and stuff. But basically, it's a bunch of ex-military guys, SEALs, Deltas, Marines, and they were all working as contractors trying to defend the CIA annex in Benghazi. And it's just, they were so overwhelmed in numbers. It's amazing they held out as well as they did because they were under. It wasn't just a simple matter of a bunch of goat herders with AK-47s. I mean, these guys had mortars. They actually would drive by with cars and get GPS coordinates and launch mortars from distance at them. And it's amazing that they held out.
And the narrative, as put in the world by Hillary Clinton, was it was a rowdy mob who'd been riled up by a YouTube video.
Oh yeah, that's complete and utter bullshit. That had absolutely nothing to do with it. I mean, this was a well planned out attack. I mean, they first attacked the actual what do you call that? Not the embassy, with maybe the consulate, where the guy was staying. I forget what they call that. And that was taken. They went there and they went there and the ambassador was already dead, but they did rescue some of the personnel that were there. And then they went back to the CIA annex, which was wasn't even supposed to be there, and then that came under assault, and that was where it was kind of like the Alamo, except that they held it. It was 13-hour firefight, and it was several of them died.
So is it on the watch list? Is it a recommend, John?
Because all the characters came off as very two-dimensional, but if you're just kind of interested in seeing a good action film, I'd say yes.
Mm. Oh, I'll add it to the list. I'll write it down.
Yeah. And also, it's a true story, so it was good. It just showed what a clusterfuck there was going on about everybody's consulting everybody. What do we do? Do we launch? Do we do this? Do we do that? And everybody had their foot up their ass. No one wanted to make a decision.
That's
because the CIA annex wasn't even supposed to be there. It was it was a black ops site.
Mm. Well, that's where appeasers lead you to war and destruction, half-arsed and you'll never find anyone more half-assed than Obama and Hillary Clinton. There was I was watching I don't know how I ended up watching Sean Hannity earlier today. I think it was YouTube with autoplay, and they were talking about the email scandal, and that nothing's going to happen. That judge, what's she called, Judge Farino, that woman judge, actually a black woman who's in a position of authority, who's got some brains about her and some sense. What's she called, Judge?
No, the Attorney General.
No, she's a really good analyst on Fox News. What's she called, Judge?
Oh, she's not black. Yeah, I know. I know
she
you're
is.
talking about.
Yeah, she is. She's a black woman. But I'll think of her name in a minute. But she was saying that she seemed to think that this email scandal isn't going to ever drop because Obama will pardon her and himself. Because if you're going to pull in Hillary for her emails, they're going to implicate him too. So it's a matter of this is a...
Well, Obama cannot pardon himself.
He can.
No.
Surely he can. He can pardon her and he can quash the case. He can completely drop.
He can pardon her. He cannot pardon himself.
Well, if he pardons her, he pardons himself, because the where she were putting it was that if you're going to do Hillary, the leverage she's got against Obama is she can drag him in, because the emails, between the 30,000 emails that are missing, a good number of them are correspondence between her and Obama. So
he could pardon her, but Congress could impeach him.
No, but the point I make is she's got leverage against him, and that's why it's never gonna be a case, and it's going to be buried, and she's going to be able to run, and it's never going to come out, because she's got leverage against a guy who can just kick it down the field and then pardon her later on. He can just.
I agree. I think that if the FBI, I can't remember the name of the guy that's the head of the FBI, but apparently he's this guy is a real straight shooter. He's neutral. He's a true believer, so to speak.
Wouldn't it be in the hands of like the Justice Department?
It's a little more complicated than that. It's in the hands of the FBI, and the FBI would recommend to the Justice Department.
Yeah. And then it becomes political. Then the Attorney General gets involved, and then it gets quashed.
Right, but if he recommends to the Justice Department, which is headed by the Attorney General, which is a political appointee of Obama, and they squash it, he'll resign. And there'd be huge political fraud.
Point being, these two people who are in charge are cover-up kings, and they are leveraged, and they are totally half-assed if you ask them to make a life-or-death decision. They're just going to do nothing and bury their head in the sand, which is, to me, what's happened at Benghazi. It's been, maybe, I'll get back to you on that, falling down. No decision made, no yes, no, just whatever, just maybe. If you've got half-assed people like that, and you're in a life-or-death situation, you're fucked. They're going to fall asleep at the wheel. They're going to fall asleep at the wheel and lead your country into disaster after disaster after disaster. That's the big problem with what the US is. I mean, George Bush may have been a bit of a buffoon, but he wasn't half-assed, was he? In the same situation, I dare say, those that have been just military all over that situation. He wouldn't. I don't think he'd have been someone who'd have got troops in the boots on the ground straight away, no questions asked. But Obama and Hillary Clinton, forget it.
Well, George Bush was a complete another fucking moron. But I'd like to hear Davis and Matt's opinion on whether or not they believe whether or not the FBI will recommend an indictment of Clinton regarding the email scandal.
Sorry, say that again?
Do you believe the FBI will recommend to the Justice Department that they indict Hillary?
They will. Short of some kind of top-level, interference by the Obama administration, they will. What I was hearing back in January was that a ton of people on the FBI were threatening to just fucking quit if they didn't indict Hillary, because you have guys like Trump used to hammer this on his speeches. David Petraeus is going to prison for doing he didn't even do a tenth of what Hillary did. We see all these people getting punished for what amounts to basically slap on the wrist, irrelevant whatevers. Hillary was keeping confidential information on a private, unsecured server that was hacked into by the Russians, and nothing has happened to her. So the FBI is going to recommend indictment.
People,
Hold on, I want to hear Davis now.
Violent men on the front lines are dead because of Hillary. These violent men are not going to just ignore all of this. And especially with Trump changing the Overton window, she is going to suffer some sort of comeuppance.
Okay, so any further elaboration, or that's just...
Yeah, I think she is going to be tried by them.
But you believe that you don't believe Obama's actually going to indict. You believe that the FBI will just resign. The senior members of the FBI will just resign in disgust because Obama could just pardon her, or the Attorney General could just refuse not to convene a grand jury and just say fuck it.
You know what? They might wait until Trump gets in. But I have no idea how the legal process works. I don't like legal processes because they're dishonest and corrupt. But she is going to suffer.
Well, riddle me this. Hillary, if she actually knew how much trouble she was in, wouldn't have run. I think she's a bit of an idiot. I think she's illiterate as to what it means to have had her email hacked. When you think someone like her, who seems to have a selective memory for things like grudges, but doesn't do too well remembering things that she's done and facts.
Well, that's.
I think she's got a failing. I think she's just an old narcissist. Old narcissists struggle to piece together because they've got very selective memories. They're able to just disassociate, forget things. That's why she's a compulsive liar. That's why when asked, do you tell the truth? Oh, I try to. It's like, what kind of answer is that? So, I mean, to me, I don't think she realizes just how much trouble she's in. I don't think she realizes what it means for the world's intelligence services, other than American, because the Americans haven't even got your intelligence services haven't got access to that level of material that she's been passing around, but other nations have. What kind of leverage is amongst that? Has it undone? Has it completely undone the American intelligence establishment?
The answer to that question is we don't know. But Matt, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, before Brother John brought it up, is like, that is the definition of narcissism: her selective memory and inability to, her obsession with grudges and everything else.
Now, what about Hillary's health?
That's what I mean.
No, I mean, like a physical health. I mean, she doesn't look good.
She looks like a walking corpse. And despite the media's attempts to paper it up, it keeps coming out. There's all those videos of her having these bizarre coughing fits on camera.
She did a thing where she claimed to have had a knock on the head, a fall, and then she claimed.
Well, actually, she really did fall.
Yeah, but she claimed to be suffering something called post-concussion syndrome, which is the jury's out as to whether that's real or not. Where she was complaining that she was having blanks in her memory and dizzy spells and things like that. I mean, that post-concussion syndrome thing, there's no proof as to say that that's real other than the people have complained of it.
Well, she's not actually saying that. She said she had a concussion, but the post-concussion syndrome is what medical doctors are saying she actually has. But I think it goes beyond that. I think she didn't have a concussion. She had a stroke. Because after it happened, she was out of commission for 6 months. Even at that age, you don't need 6 months to recover from a concussion.
No.
You do need that if you're going to recover from a stroke. And she's exhibiting, like I saw her in person, she's exhibiting the mental and physical deterioration that is associated with having a stroke. Like I wish I could imitate it, but that would require me to flip my camera on, and my camera's not working. But she nods her heads up when she's not speaking, when she's like, present, but like someone else is speaking or whatever. She nods her head up and down this absent-minded, like, nursing home, Alzheimer's kind of way.
Yeah, she kind of goes. She kind of nods, like, yeah, she's there, but she's not there.
She's spaced out. She's when she actually does speak, she's incapable of going off script. Everything she has to do has to be very carefully choreographed. I mean, you saw, for example, the video of her being confronted by a Greenpeace activist at a New York event, and and this chick asks her a relatively minor question. She's like, "I am sick of the Sanders campaign lying about me." She has a complete narcissistic snap in the span of about 5 seconds.
Well, she's like nearly 70, right? And say I've known old people who've been sharp at 80 till the day they've died. But what them guys who've been sharp right to the end haven't had a history of mental illness. They're not people who are suffering from like MPD. Those who are, though, fall into dementia. Now, being someone like her.
Well, hold on, John, Brother John, you're merging psychology with
no,
organic brain function.
No, let me make my point. It takes a great deal of mental energy and also a great deal of grey matter and brain power to sustain that narcissistic false self and to be able to keep track of all the things you've done and all the lies when you're living in your own world of make-believe. So as you get older and the brain becomes less, let's say, active, they start to deteriorate very quickly. You hear of old people who lose it and sort of regress into a younger state, become like old people who behave like children. This is because the amount of intellect, the amount of access to memory, the speed of thought that it takes to sustain a narcissist false self is absolutely exhausting. If her as age has gone on, as that it were, a grey matter started to get old, she's struggling.
Well, I believe she'll be 69 this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, she'd be struggling to maintain a false self if she's in essence a narc. Now, everything that I've been led to believe about Hillary Clinton and her husband is that they're people who keep a lot of secrets, have done a lot of bad things, have done a lot of sins, if you like. So it's like these people have got an inability to self-reflect. Now, that really does take a lot of energy to maintain that, to maintain the appearance of stability and normalcy through that sort of shit. People who keep a lot of secrets and tell a lot of lies exhaust themselves keeping those secrets and telling those lies.
Well, my theory is once it comes down to a debate between, because they're both the presumptive nominees, even though the conventions haven't happened on either the Democrat or the Republican side yet. So barring Hillary having completely stroking out before the convention, she is going to be the Democratic nominee. So how do you think that her mental prowess is going to hold up against Trump when it's just the two of them on stage?
It's easy to answer. It isn't. She's just going to melt down, maybe even faint, maybe even have a stroke. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that more than I used to look forward to the World Cup. The first debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump will be.
I'm going to be watching every single debate just to see her stroke out.
Well, there might only be one. There may only be one. We might actually see some.
Yeah, but hold on. Davis's plan is that he's going to record it and just play it over and over again in a loop, and just watch it and masturbate to it. I think that's good.
Yeah, if only one debate, she might just die after the first one. And I'm wondering, can you run a corpse for president? I know it's possible for a corpse to run for the Senate.
We've seen that happen already. So Matt, though, what is your opinion about her? And I know we're joking for a second, but just to be serious, how do you think that she'll perform when she's put on the stage like that with Trump? I mean, even though I'm sure they'll pump her up with Adderall and whatever other drugs they have.
That'd be very dangerous for someone in her position. You don't want to give Adderall to someone who's already on a battery of medication and is that old. You might give them a heart attack. Maybe she'll die of that,
You'd also dampen her focus. She'd be better off on methamphetamine to do something like that.
Well, that's basically Adderall. That's what it is. I mean,
yeah, well, fair enough, yeah.
It's legal speed without, it hasn't been cut with rat poison or laxatives.
I'm not up with my medications. But yeah, that's the right stuff. Get her on the Adderall.
No, but so Matt, how do you see her performing in a debate? I mean, she's not going to be able to read off a teleprompter. I mean,
she's going to be absolutely devastated. Well, the thing is, for another thing with the issue with Hillary is not just her health or her narcissism. She has never truly been challenged in her life. I mean, she entered the national stage of her husband back in the 90s when he became president. Then she became the senator from New York, a gimme seat because Rudy Giuliani did not run. Rudy Giuliani was supposed to be her Republican opponent, but he withdrew because he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So instead, he got the perennial loser, Rick Lazio, a cuckservative if there ever before cuckservatives was a thing. She steamrolled over him as expected. She won re-election against a Republican non-entity who didn't even get any funding from the state party. Then she had there was the 2008 race where, I mean, compared to this race, it was nothing. Obama and Clinton were basically, different toilet, same shit. That's why they were so easily reconciled. I mean, what was the difference between them? It was mostly a matter of style. Obama was young, hip. He wasn't abrasive. People didn't instinctively hate him like they hated Hillary. And she became
he benefited from being unknown. Nobody knew what an arsehole he was, so they went with him.
Yeah, that's a good portion of Bernie Sanders' success. People so revile Hillary that they'll vote for anyone over her if given the option. They'll vote for a fucking potted plant. That's basically what Sanders is. He's a potted plant. And Hillary keeps trying to make the point of, well, I'm used to being attacked by the Republicans. No, you're not used to being attacked by them because they suck at it. They have done an absolutely terrible job of fighting the Democrats. Trump is the first person in her life who is truly challenging her on a fundamental level. Yeah. He's hammering her at her weak points. None of the other Republicans have done that. So if he brings this stuff up in a debate, she is going to absolutely shut down.
All he needs to do, and if Trump's watching, I like Trump, so I'll help him. All he needs to do is say to her, "Who said?" and just quote her back to her. And she'll be like, "I don't know what you're talking about." "Well, that was you in 1999. Here's you in 2005. Here's you in 2010. Here's you in 2012. Just make it, just in essence, just using what's there against her is enough. You don't need to attack. Just the idiot things she said, the lies she's told. Just start to bring up the lies she's told. Things like crooked Hillary and just, this is, she's, all the ammunition in the world is on YouTube.
He's amazing at coming up with cruel nicknames, isn't he?
Oh, I think that's one of his greatest gifts.
Well, it's fanciful association. That's how the world works.
Well,
gives everyone a nickname.
Does everyone here, including, who's ever listening, we're down to 15 viewers now, but to all the viewers, I say, go check out Scott Adams' blog, the creator of Dilbert. He totally breaks down how Trump has created these memes in our head, from Lying Ted to Crooked Hillary to Pocahontas, which, by the way, that's my favorite.
Yeah, Goofy Elizabeth Warren, Little Marco.
Little Marco, yeah, do you remember that? Lion Ted, Little Marco.
Low energy Bush.
Low energy Bush. Actually, that one wasn't even. I don't even think that was the one where he didn't even have to think about it. That was just. God, talk about a cuck. That guy was just. What a disgusting human being that is.
But it's anytime I'm feeling lazy or tired, that's been my saying now. I'm feeling Jebby.
Yeah, I'm feeling Jebby. It's like when you go to the gym and you just take a sauna.
How naive must that establishment of the Republican Party have thought the people of America were to give so much money to Jeb Bush to run? How far out of touch are they from the voter? That beggars belief to me. How they thought he was realistic.
Well, they're not.
Incredible.
They weren't interested in winning. They just wanted to have a guy who they controlled.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Matt had a breakdown on this when the field initially was 17, correct, Matt? Mike,
yes.
I think it was 17. You actually broke this down where, and you didn't do all the work yourself, but from reading and talking to other people, there was a way that they were trying to split the vote. Like there was a couple of guys that were just up there to pull votes away from other people, and they were all setting it up for Jeb Bush to win. Do you remember we were talking about that?
Yeah. That was actually done by the Conservative Treehouse, the website. Basically, a bunch of these candidates were recruited, even though they had no realistic chance of winning, because they could split the anti-Jeb vote. The RNC calculated that Jeb could get at least 25% of the vote in each of these primaries. Now, in order to keep the anti-Jeb vote from solidifying around a single candidate, they recruited a bunch of candidates who had strong regional appeal in early state primaries to take that vote away. Like, for example, Lindsey Graham, who barely ran a campaign at all, but just so happens to be from South Carolina, which is one of the early primary states. So they were hoping for a result in which Jeb would maybe get 25% of the vote, but because the anti-Jeb vote, like the 75%, is split out among like 10 people, he comes in first under the rules of first past the post. They also changed the primary schedules so that many of the earlier states, such as Florida, Illinois, etc., would award their delegates on a winner-take-all basis by congressional district. And particularly in places like Illinois or New York, this gives outsized importance to the handful of Republican voters that reside in extremely Democratic areas like Chicago or the Bronx, and the assumption is that they're going to vote for Jeb. They're going to vote for the establishment candidates. Well, we saw this play out in New York, for example. Trump won every county borough in the state except for Manhattan, which went to John Kasich. The problem was that when Trump came in, he completely fucked this up because he actually was, playing to win, and he managed to unify the anti-Jeb vote and get a bunch of people from outside of the party to support him. So that completely fucked their plan up. They didn't have a plan B. Their attempt to flail around in March with like Mitt Romney and the Stop Trump PAC and what happened in Wisconsin, at one point it looked like they were going to slow him down, but he powered through it all.
Yeah, nothing's worked.
Well, the reason I asked Matt to go into that amount of detail on that is that a lot of people think that it was a lot more simple than it was. In other words, it wasn't there was sincerely 17 guys on the stage all vying to become the Republican candidate. They were not. They knew, most of them knew their role.
Yeah, the other thing too is that even if those candidates won delegates, when they dropped out of the race and endorsed Jeb gets their delegates. So the only oh Christ, there was something else I was going to bring up along these lines as well. Completely slipped my mind. But yeah, here we go. Back in 2014, the whole rise of super PACs, that was also instituted by the Republican Party to help Jeb, because the candidate who has the most amount of money traditionally is the one that's going to win, because they can just bury everyone in ads. It's just that what happened was Trump completely rewrote the playbook, so Jeb and his super PACs ended up spending along the lines of $200 million and got 5 delegates out of it.
Well, wasn't it? Didn't we break it down mathematically? Like it was so much $100 per vote. I mean, someone actually did the math.
Oh yeah, something ridiculous like that.
I mean, he literally could have went around to people and handing them like $200 per person to vote for him, and it would have been cheaper than the amount of money he spent on him and his, not him, but just all his super PACs trying to do it, and he got buried that bad.
In Iowa, he had ads for everywhere, every billboard, every radio station had some. It was either from Jeb himself or one of his super PACs attacking one of his opponents. Like if you saw an ad on the highway in Iowa, it was almost surely going to be from Jeb Bush, and he came in 6th, and he got like 5% of the vote.
And just so everybody knows, Matt was in Iowa and saw this.
I saw every goddamn inch of the place. I saw more of Iowa than any human being should be legally allowed to.
And he still hasn't recovered.
The Republicans of the Jeb Bush campaign don't understand the internet, do they? That traditional method of billboards and radio and television ads, it's obsolete, and it's been proven so. now by Trump.
By
Trump's
Trump,
biggest, Trump's biggest machine has been to play the media, to get them to chase him and to write down everything that he says and reprint it. Twitter and Facebook, though. Twitter has been the way he's used it. He might as well have and that's free. He hasn't paid a penny for his Facebook.
Trump. Even as harsh as critics will admit that Trump played the media like a Stradivarius violin.
Easy, just with hyperbole. Just with saying things that would obviously trigger. It was tailor-made for him, the whole thing, to come in and just play him. Because as soon as he said that, we haven't got time for political correctness, they all turned on him immediately, and it's like, hello, we're in. That was it.
Yeah.
So every time he said something, his enemies, who were, stuck in this political correct bullshit, every time he opens his mouth, you've given them another scandal, and their scandals are a bit weak, aren't they? He hates women. He said something bad about Mexicans, or he said something about black people, and it's like, it's about your feelings, is it? So he's actually the media.
Well, hold on a second, John. You talked about women. I just want to hear talk about Matt's favorite female commentator, Megan with the Y. How do you think that? What do you think about the way Trump played her?
Oh, I think she's. I think she's beating herself so hard thinking about him that her labia is turning blue.
Just hypersensitive criticism. How dare you talk to me like that? Who do you think you are? And he's saying, well, she's a lightweight, isn't she? And he's right.
Well, he called her a bimbo.
Yeah, bimbo and a lightweight and nobody. And it's like, she made a career out of me.
Well, my favorite
Roger Ailes actually made her go to Trump Tower and ask for a meeting with him.
Yeah.
Roger Ailes he's the godfather of Fox News. You never see his face, but he's the guy that created it. I don't know if you guys know.
She's nobody.
My favorite quote about Megyn Kelly was, Carl Lushanka and I were waiting in line outside of a Trump rally in Council Bluffs, which is near Omaha, and we're talking with this chick, and we're in the conversation gets to Megyn Kelly, and I make a joke like, she's, Megyn Kelly, she's a lightweight, and then she responds to me, oh, come on, you don't have to be so polite. She's a bitch.
She is a bitch.
I love
Did you hear what her first husband said about her?
What?
He said we both wanted a wife.
What's the thing?
That was because apparently she said he got really pissed because apparently she alluded to the fact that somebody cheated on her, and she kind of made it sound like it was him, and he got really pissed off because he said, no, I never fucked around with my wife ever.
I would have liked to, but I didn't.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, whatever. But he didn't say that. He was a gentleman, but they were asking him, well, why did the marriage not work out? He said, well, the problem was we both wanted a wife.
The thing is with these political broadcasters thinking that there's somebody. They are celebrities, aren't they? In a way, they're like actors, like asking George Clooney what he thinks. They are just media. Well, that's it. They're just media personalities. They are nobodies. When you say you're Donald Trump, let's have it right, he's been in the casino business. He's been in the hotel business. He's all about.
He's been in the airline business. He's been in the real estate business, casino business. I mean, he's the guy.
He's been
in the fucking ice skating ring business. I mean, there's nothing this guy has ever failed at in his life.
High level communications, leadership, and understanding the value of people. So he could be looking down at these like, I'm worth 10 billion and I know the value of people. If I didn't understand the value of people, I've never got to be as rich as I've got to because he can recognize talent, can't he? He doesn't run all these businesses on his own. He's someone who invests in talent.
Yeah, and he pays his women more than than Hillary Clinton ever did.
So
I think his highest paid executive is a woman.
If you weigh him up as being right, I'm someone who recognizes talent. He's looking at Megyn Kelly and saying, "Would I hire you?" No.
Well, and I had a friend of mine make this observation that he would his ideal president is somebody that knows how to do blue collar work, knows how to do white collar work, and knows how to drive a car properly. And he says he's looking at Trump, and he saw this video of Trump shoveling some coal or whatever, one of those publicity events, but he was watching how he shoveled it, and he saw, like, yeah, this guy actually knows how to work properly. You know, had the shovel at the right angle, was digging in, thrusting properly, all of it. Which is
in
what
other words,
Megyn
it wasn't
Kelly
just for the
thinks about.
it wasn't just for the photo. Yeah.
But if you understand the value of people, you can be a leader, and that's what he is. He's actually a leader.
And he knows strategy, he knows how to work, and he knows how to manage.
Knows his limitations. Knows that if he wants to, best example, that ice skating rink thing. Who's the best guy at this?
Yeah, he went actually up to Canada.
Yeah,
And
he goes and finds the best guy, knowing his limitations. Well, I don't want to be going off on one here saying I can do something that I can't. I'll go and find the best man for the job. Now, that in itself is a talent. That's how you get to the very top, is understanding the value of people. If he understands the value of people, that's the sort of guy you want running the job. Because he won't appoint idiots. He'll vet the people who he employs based on the fact that, hey, I employ 22,000 people. So there you go. You've got yourself. He's a gem of a guy to be coming in and taking over something like the U.S. government, because the U.S. government is at its best when it's doing the least, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So you need a CEO to run it. He should be, the President of the United States should be, in essence, a defender of the faith. That's what he should be. Should be a leader who's a defender of the faith, not an activist. Just someone who runs it like a business, and it'd be fine. But that's the thing, these activist presidents that you've had have been a disaster, an absolute disaster, and a disaster for the whole world. You can't get a leftist activist president. He's gonna change the world to suit his vision.
Well, let me ask you a question, John, and try to keep it concise. How do you think that Britain and to a lesser extent the EU would react to a Trump presidency? Now try to keep it concise. I know that's a tough and it's a broad question. But...
Okay, I'll make it very simple. As soon as he wins, they'll fall in behind in complete awe of the guy, because he's got something that they ain't got, and what he's got is a mystery to them, because our politicians in high levels have never been anything but politicians. They're all sons and daughters of people who worked, people who made it. He's the guy who made it. They're just the offspring of people who made it. So they'll be in awe of him. They'll just fall into line immediately behind him.
Yeah, what about the fact that they're ideologically so different from him?
It doesn't matter. His leadership quality will mean that they'll just fall into line. Trust me. They'll just fall into line behind him. He could probably break up. When he gets elected, he could probably break up the EU with just a few words. They'll fall in behind him. Seriously. They are. Say, career politicians don't understand the value. I mean, what money spends easier than taxpayers' money when you can deficit spend? Donald Trump knows the value of a dollar, knows the value of people. So he's got something they ain't got. They'll just fall. They'll fall on their knees in front of him. There'll be nobody in Europe who'll say anything bad or wrong about him, because they'll be frightened of what he might say about them, because they wouldn't want David Cameron, who's an asshole out of his depth, wouldn't want Donald Trump tweeting about him.
Yeah, but didn't you British guys pass a resolution where he's not allowed in your country or something like that? Or?
No, all the Muslims signed a change.org petition and put it to the government, and all the lefties in the government demanded that the debate happen, and nothing came of it. It was just a publicity stunt by the left. Nothing.
Okay, Davis, what are your thoughts then about how Britain and the EU would react to a Trump presidency? Or even Canada? How would Trudeau? I mean, I know you don't really know this guy, but I mean, you're a Canadian. even though we won't hold that against you. How do you think that they'd react to a Trump presidency?
With
Trudeau is
massive
gonna-
amounts of passive aggression. He is going to viciously hate Trump and want to do everything he possibly can to undermine him, while at the same time not appearing like the petty little creep that he is. And so this is going to, basically the divide we're seeing right now in America between the left and the right, just going to the far extremes, this is going to spread like wildfire. And the righteous forces of Brexit and the Sons of Odin are really going to get empowered by this. And the leftists are going to start. They're all going to look like Hillary about 6 months after he's been elected.
Okay, Matt, your thoughts?
I think that Trudeau's just going to drop trow and grease up.
I'd agree with you, Matt.
Well,
Well, it'll be an ass kissing lick spittle. You'll fall into line straight away.
Trudeau is such a weak little cock. It's obvious. It's obvious even from my perspective. The guy's such a loser. You know, he's going to get to. He's not going to get. He's no Jean Chrétien. You know, Chrétien was at least had the force of will to keep Canada out of the Iraq War. Trudeau's just going to fall in line like the little pool that he is. Canada is going to resume its role as being the USA. Canada and the UK are going to resume their roles as the USA's bottom bitches.
It wouldn't be such a bad thing, actually, because leadership, that actual skill, that value, leadership, world ain't got that. The political world hasn't got that, and the business world has got that. And this is where it's all fallen down. There's no leadership. There's no leader of the Western world. Barack Obama ain't no leader. The guys who came before him, they weren't leaders either. This guy's a leader. So this guy can reshape the world, and not reshape the world into a utopian fucking communist dream. Reshape the world into, hey, you guys, open your eyes, this is what it is. Because he's all about business, isn't he? He's all about understanding. People only really, nobody ever talks in politics about what people really want, and what people really want usually is just work. They want jobs, they want security, because this life that we live is really all about security, settling down, raising a family. That's what human life is. And without security, without job security, without knowing what's going to happen next year, you can't do that. Or if your life will be a struggle. That's what people want. They want work, they want jobs, they want prosperity. And that's all he has to highlight. That's all he has to push towards. The world works pretty well, doesn't it, as a business? I mean, look at this brilliant infrastructure we've got. Look at this internet we've got. Look at the roads. It all works. It's these fuckers who come along on the left who say that the world has to change to accommodate the way we feel. These arseholes get involved. All of a sudden, government's starting to throw money at shit. Government's starting to throw money at getting more women into the army. There's a thing in the UK at the moment where the government's investing money in strong arming business to have 50-50 female representations in the top 350 companies in Britain. They're actually threatening to penalise corporations for not having a 50-50 female-male split in boardrooms. They're spending money doing that. And it's like, hey, hang on a minute. That sort of madness could end. That's where we can get a meritocracy. We can have actual equality the day that we recognise that we've already got it. It doesn't become a question anymore. Now, that's the real world that we've got, really. That's what we've really got already. We just need to restore what we've already got, and we've got ourselves a good leader. Get rid of the activists. Get a leader. Great. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, but ultimately, this wouldn't change anything in Europe as far as the...
Yeah, well, it'd embolden those who are against this activism government. It would embolden the opposition and say, well, it's emboldened everyone. Trump's emboldened everyone in what is your movement, you being the alternate right. You guys are going to come out of this like, we fucking told you so. We pushed this guy. We championed this guy. We rooted for him. So in you rooting for him, you've in essence got some of the Trump magic going on about it. All of us have. Because he dared to go against the establishment. He dared to challenge the political correctness. It's like, if he can do it, so can I.
Our opponents are absolute weaklings. They've just been supported by a corrupt university system, a corrupt civil service, and a corrupt journalism regime.
Yeah.
And with Trump is crushing that. And it's partly because of, like guys like us that have been out here doing this, and everybody that reads our stuff that's been saying, that knows that the mainstream is BS, but maybe they want to keep their jobs, maybe they have a family to take care of. It's this groundswell in America that is sick of these Marxist slime balls that have been in charge. The ground was ready, and Trump took the lead. And everything's going to change, and I can't wait.
No, I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with any of that. But how about this? Just think about this for a second. All these people that are, never Trump, whatever, these people are not just going to disappear if and when he wins the election. They're still going to be there.
What do you in a line? They'll flip. They're fickle. They'll flip. They're only fearful. They don't offer any alternatives or solutions. They haven't got any alternatives or solutions. All they've got is a hate figure. Now, a hate figure, that's something. They'll fall into line. They'll flip. They'll become the greatest lovers of Trump, and they'll be all of a sudden saying, "Hey, I've always been a fan of Trump," like all fucking liars do when they turn. Like all defeated, wounded animals all eventually turn round and say, "Hey, I was a big fan of Trump all along." That's what you'll see. That's the human nature of cowards. You bow to strength.
Well, I agree about the part about them being sorry, Davis, I didn't mean to step on you. I'm just saying I probably live in the second most paused city in the United States. I not that these people would do anything other than maybe change their hair from green to red and whatever, or get an extra piercing. But I'm curious as to what they're going to do. Maybe it'll just be like my dream where their heads will all explode like in that movie Scanners. But they're not going to just I disagree with Brother John in the sense that they're just going to fall in line. Maybe they'll just go build a giant safe space somewhere.
They'll have their hair like Donald Trump. That'll be the new hairstyle.
But they're not going to, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever, well, I know Matt lives in a city that's, parts of it at least are paused. I mean, and I know Matt's been at Brooklyn. And you don't see these people just falling in line, just saying, "Oh, Trump's president. Well, yeah, whatever." Or maybe he does believe that. I don't know. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I think the more militant sectors of the left are going to. Well, when you say never Trump, I think of conservatives.
Yeah. Okay. I should have. I don't know. I didn't know what else to call them, but you know what I mean. Like,
it was like because the left is going to be never Trump by default. But the never Trump conservatives are actually they're dwindling fast, mainly because they don't have a figure to rally around. Initially they were starting to vote libertarian, but then turned out Gary Johnson is a completely paused freak. Chomo,
Billy Crystal will either immigrate to Israel or he'll get on the Trump campaign. I'm talking about all the girls with the problem glasses and the. The more militant sectors of the left are going to they're going to fight back with riots and everything else and massive resistance. I think that's the term. The problem glasses type girls, they're going to be so triggered by just participating in the political sector that they're going to withdraw. Like for example, when Lena Dunham announced that she was leaving social media forever because people made fun of the selfie she posted where she's in granny panties in her underwear and it was really gross. Their amygdalas will not be able to take the stress of participating in politics because people are just going to be triggering the fuck out of them. They get triggered by Trump. They get triggered by Trump supporters. They get triggered by the chalking. They get triggered by this, triggered by that. If they attempt to stay in politics, they're going to have nervous breakdowns. So their brains will caution them to just withdraw and become and vanish. So I mean, do you think? So you think they'll just retreat into having these like art shows with menstrual blood, like in speakeasies somewhere or something? I mean,
they're all going. A ton of them are going to. They're gonna throw out the hair dye, grow their hair out, and try to find a husband.
Withdraw.
Listen, they want to be dominated. Okay, feminism in general, just a giant fitness test of Western civilization. You know, you read about these women that invited a rape refugee to move in with them, and then the rape refugee raped their 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah,
I hate to say this, but this is a mating strategy. Okay, they would rather that their 12-year-old daughter get raped by the superior Middle Easterner than the inferior European male, because European men are acting like pussies. And so, yeah, as soon as the narrative changes, as soon as we don't have to worry about getting fired from our jobs if we dare to walk into the office without our dick taped between our butt cheeks, as soon as that happens, these bitches will get in line.
Just to say, Lena Dunham, I won't fuck her with a stolen dick.
I wouldn't fuck Lena Dunham with any of your dicks.
I wouldn't fuck Lena Dunham with Movie Bob Stick and Jim Sterling pushing.
No. No.
You at didn't make that.
No, no good. No good. Say she needs to remove herself from everything, that person. And many of these, I tell you what, many of these lefty celebrity people who like to mouth off on social justice and leftist politics, I think they'll just withdraw from the public sphere as losers, having lost. They're not the kind of people who get up and brush themselves down and get back on the horse. Expect to see them in 4 years' time. They'll just disappear. They don't want to be associated with a losing side, so they'll either flip or withdraw. Don't worry about them. We're going to be laughing about this in a year's time. Hey, remember when George Clooney said, "Fuck off, you greying old fucking fossil."
Well, on that note, guys, I gotta end this my first live stream. I appreciate all of you for participating. I think it was a massive success. We had 1.25 viewers. We're down to 16 now. I thank everybody who listened, and I thank all of you for participating. And hope to do this again sometime soon. And everybody, thank you and take care.